Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story, a 12-year-old girl is now back with her family in Bountiful after police say she was kidnapped by a man she met on social media. Bountiful Police Lieutenant Andrew Smith tells KSL TV the girl got in the man's car in her driveway just after midnight yesterday. Her family knocked on the window a few hours later.
They knocked on the window and inquired if their daughter was inside the car, at which point a Hispanic male jumped into the driver's seat of the car and the car fled the area.
Police say this led to a high-speed chase on I-15 and the West Belt, which ended when he says the suspect crashed into the back of a police car. The suspect was arrested on the scene, and the girl, who was unharmed, was reunited with her family. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Questions continue to grow over President-elect Donald Trump's choice for defense secretary. Fox News host Pete Hegseth.
His attorney confirming Hegseth paid a woman who accused him of sexual assault in 2017 as part of a settlement agreement, though claiming the encounter was consensual. Hegseth is also under fire for some of his tattoos depicting religious symbols and phrases that fellow service members flagged to his superiors over concerns they're associated with white supremacists. Hegseth saying those concerns amount to anti-Christian bigotry.
ABC News Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down just 8 points. We're at 43,436. Coming up, those are some menacing clouds out there. We might see some snow today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly. Completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way, with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states says Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
The temperatures outside have dropped a bunch, and now my family and I are enjoying the benefits of our brand new windows from Advanced Window Products in a different way. During the summer, it was nice to be able to keep the cold air in. Now it's nice to see how much more efficiently we can keep warm air inside. We replaced 20 of our builder-grade windows with high-efficiency windows and a glass door to our backyard with a built-in pet door, and we have just been thrilled with the results. We're already saving on our energy bill. We're helping pay for the windows with the rebate available through Dominion Energy. Our price didn't include any middleman markups because they did the sales and the installation all in-house. My wife and I love that there's a lifetime warranty serviced by their local team, labor, glass, parts included. I promise they're going to treat you right, and you'll have an amazing experience from start to finish, just like I did. Right now is a great time to do it. Also, they're having an end-of-season sale. Save $2,500 on 10 windows or more. 801-850-9100 or advancedwindows.com.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Imagine struggling with a slow, outdated computer that takes forever to load anything, that randomly freezes up and is filled with viruses and malware.
Now picture yourself with a powerful desktop or laptop that runs smoothly and efficiently, making your work and entertainment seamless. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have some slowdowns northbound I-15 going through Springville. It's due to lane restrictions in that area from construction. And then we've got a crash 2100 south eastbound at 400 west. The right lane is still blocked, but the tow truck just arrived on scene. Hopefully that'll clear out in the next 10 or 15 minutes. And still a crash being cleaned up on State Street northbound just before 2700 south. Right lane there is also blocked. And you've got winter driving conditions happening through Sardine Canyon right now. The huge Black Friday Serta mattress sale is going on now at Two Brothers Mattress. Save up to $600 on Serta mattresses. Visit one of their 5 stores or twobrothersmattress.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's going to be cloudy today with a chance of snow. The highs will be in the low 40s. Right now it's 42 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, we are certainly very closely tracking the big international story that has developed pretty much overnight, and that is that President Biden has authorized Ukraine to fire long-range missiles into Russia. Am I correct on that, Dave?
Yeah,
You've
absolutely.
been really looking into this morning for
us.
It's
been fascinating to watch this unfold. And as you look at what has happened over the past 29 months, can you believe that? It's been over 2.5 years that Ukraine has been fighting Russia, that just now the U.S. is supporting more aggressive strikes into Russia, crossing and not just attacks inside of Ukraine and areas that Russia has taken over in Ukraine. We will continue to follow this story. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
We'll also take you into Vineyard, Utah. Don't know where that is? Well, it was once a sleepy town on the east shore of Utah Lake. One survey, Dave, recently found that Vineyard's population has exploded 7,054% from 2013 to 2022. Yes, you heard that right. 7,054%. Now, we read this article on KSL.com about parking chaos, of course. Not enough street parking. Cars parked too close to stop signs, to fire hydrants, etc. You get the idea. 10:05, we're going to go over a list of options to fix the problem. I don't know if these are going to suit everybody, Dave.
Can you imagine being the city planner back in 2013 and even trying to look into the future, to look into your crystal ball and say, all right, folks, we've got to prepare for a 7,000% population increase? You would have been laughed out of your chair. It would have been ridiculous. So how do you possibly prepare for that? You can't. You can't prepare for 7,000% increase. But it doesn't change the fact that parking is chaotic right now, and you've got to do something about it. So big changes have got to be afoot.
Countdown. 2.
The question I heard when I heard the news this morning is that is the Ukraine-Russia war about to escalate because of President Biden authorizing Ukraine to fire long-range missiles into Russia? And I also need some clarification on why he had to do that authorization to begin with. I'm sure there's some nuance there that our experts who are going to be joining us at 9:35, and we think this is such a big story, we're going to dive back into it in the 11 o'clock hour. So 2 different experts on what is going on right now in the Ukraine and Russia war, and how will Russia's President Vladimir Putin perceive Biden's move. Biden urging other countries to support Ukraine as well today at the G20 summit.
The United States strongly supports Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Everyone around this table, in my view, should as well.
But is this actually going to be a game changer, or I should say a war changer? Because we started off, you'll remember, back when this first happened, we're going to send you 5,000 helmets. That's what we sent to them, or that's what Germany sent Ukraine, 5,000 helmets back before the invasion. And then it was, here's some anti-tank, and then here's the actual tanks, and here's some F-16s. At what point does this help actually end the war?
Launch countdown. 1.
This has been a huge story locally over the weekend, and we are going to continue to go in depth on it this morning. Heard it on Utah's Morning News as well with their coverage. Police say a 12-year-old girl in Bountiful was taken in really the wee hour of the morning, just after midnight, from her own driveway, allegedly kidnapped by a man, a 20-something-year-old man. Police say the suspect is an adult who connected with this child, Dave, over social media. I'm not quite sure we know yet what social media platform, but that's just one of the questions we're going to ask Lieutenant Andrew Smith with Bountiful PD when he calls the show at 9:20. He's already been talking to the media, including our very own KSL5 Television's Alex Cabrera over the weekend.
You don't know if you're going to see your child again. You know, your child has just been taken by somebody who you don't know, and they're gone for a period of time, and you can only imagine what those parents are going through and thinking about what their daughter is going through.
Now, if you're a parent, you may feel absolutely overwhelmed, incapable of tracking all of your kids' movements on social media. I've got a tip for you, folks. I've got a way that we've done it in our family. This is going to be a little shocker for you. Have you ever thought about cloning your child's phone? That's right, cloning a phone. I'll tell you how.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
And this is going to be one of those shows you're going to want to stick around for throughout the entire show as best you can, because Dave is going to go into his how to clone your child's phone how-to method in our 10 o'clock hour when we continue to go on in depth on our top local story. Let's get to the details, and then in a moment, we're going to hear live from the Lieutenant Bountiful PD, who's going to be calling with more information about what they know this morning. It was just an absolutely wild scene, Dave, as you and I were reading through all of the news coverage this morning that not only happened today, but throughout the weekend. What we learned is that this 12-year-old was found after this chase involving police, but it initially begins where this man is allegedly parked in her family's driveway in like very early Sunday morning. Parents notice she's not in the home, and they go outside, and they find this strange car in the driveway, and they knock on the window.
They knocked on the window and inquired if their daughter was inside the car, at which point a Hispanic male jumped into the driver's seat of the car, and the car fled the area.
And she was in there all right.
Yes, and this is the way your kid's going to get kidnapped. It's not that they're going to come into your house and snatch your kid out of your bed, you know, like Elizabeth Smart was years ago. It's far more likely that they're going to be lured, usually through social media, and lured into a car, and that's how they're going to be kidnapped. We have several instances where this has happened, where the kidnappings are happening this way.
Yeah, and this is what police have alleged in this case, is that the two had connected over social media. We're going to try to get some clarity on which social media app they may have been talking over, how long they had been communicating. But this story certainly took almost a fortuitous twist in a lot of ways, Dave, because so often when you hear, the longer a child is missing, the less likely it is that they're going to be returned to their family safely. Well, in this case, it appears what happens is that about 9 hours after this child is allegedly taken from her driveway in this car, the car is then spotted in the neighborhood. Cops are called. A chase ensues. Then there's some wild police chase that happens where they're able to stop this car. It's a white Chevy Camaro, no license plate on it. It's about 12, 13 years old, and the girl is still inside, from my understanding. Thankfully, they were able to get her to safety. KSL5 Television reported that she had gone to the doctor's office to be examined, which would be, of course, standard protocol in a situation like this. And then the suspect was taken into custody. This just kept getting stranger and stranger, but thankfully, she seems to be safe. We'll get an update straight ahead, live from the Bountiful Police Department. They're calling the show in about 4 minutes. We're going to ask them if they can fill us in on things like what social media platform they think this man had used to connect with this 12-year-old girl, and other warnings that they have for parents. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about Mountain Home Services is they've combined their forces. They've joined up with Master Electrical Service, which gives you some incredible access to expertise.
Yeah, we're so excited about this because, when you and I started talking to Master Electrical Service and talking about them, they already do all kinds of stuff like, your EV chargers need to be installed. They're your go-to. You want a new generator. They're your go-to. You need new recessed lighting. They're your go-to. And then when they combined forces with Mountain Home Services, well, that meant they could help you with even more, like your HVAC and your plumbing.
So you've got your heating and air, your electrical needs. All of this comes with the same upfront pricing guarantee that you've learned to love. I think we've all been bitten by bids in the past where they come out, they give you this incredible bid, very affordable. And then when you actually get the invoice, it's far more than you expected. Well, not with Mountain Home Services. You get that upfront pricing guarantee.
And of course, now they're also installing gas fireplaces. So they're your absolute go-to for those as well. And they're super easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, check them out online. MountainHomeUtah.com is the website. MountainHomeUtah.com.
Or you can give them a call, 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
The White House, Senate, and House, all controlled by the Republican Party. Are they poised to make historic change to the federal government, dialing back American commitment in foreign wars, or just creating more conflict and controversy? The direction of the country is uncertain. Get clear with Utah's top political analysts. Inside Sources, weekdays 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
Check out AMCO's multiple financing options so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO.
Imagine the peace of mind knowing when you transfer your credit card balances to a Hercules First Federal Credit Union Visa, you get card NAV security as part of your package. Transfer the balance of your current credit card today and enjoy 3.99% interest for the first 6 months and 9.95% fixed APR. Receive 1 reward point for every dollar transferred. And then there's card NAV security, the total package for protecting your card against those who would like to steal your information and use it for themselves. Just download the app and you control your Visa card like never before. Visit HerculesCU.com. That's HerculesCU.com and learn more. Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. All accounts insured to $250,000 by NCUA. On approved credit, membership required, based on eligibility.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Shop early, save big, all month long during Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. Right now, get select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees starting at just $59.98. Don't wait to save. Shop these deals today, in-store or online, because Lowe's knows deals. Discount taken at time of purchase while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health.
Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, a media rights lawsuit has just landed more Big 12 football and basketball games on TV. Games will be streamed on TNT and TBS next year instead of just ESPN+. Second, Crumbl Cookies is facing heat for how the company sources their eggs. Critics are saying they use eggs from chickens kept in inhumane conditions. Third, a man is dead after a police-involved shooting yesterday. It was a domestic shooting that resulted in a man barricading himself inside of an apartment with a woman. Police shot and killed the man. Right now, it's 42 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local stories.
How did this alleged kidnapper, who's described as a male in his 20s, make contact with a 12-year-old girl? And what we know so far from the Bountiful Police Department, which is investigating this alleged kidnapping, Dave, that happened over the weekend, is that it appears that the two had connected over social media. Now, there's some questions we don't have answers to in a moment. Bountiful PD joining us live. Like, what social media app? And how long had the two been communicating before she was somehow lured out of her home really early in the morning on Sunday?
See, when we talk about kidnapping, I think we need to think this. Before we think about the tragic story of Elizabeth Smart being snatched out of her home by a stranger, I think the cyber kidnapping, the meeting somebody online, that is the new kidnapping we need to be aware of and prepared. I'm not saying don't lock your doors. I'm just saying the way folks are getting your kids, it's through the social media apps. It's luring them out. That concerns me more than anything else for my kids.
And if you're just joining us, I think it's really important to note, we'll get Lieutenant Andrew Smith, who's with the Bountiful Police Department, on the line live with us. You were able to find this young girl, 12 years old, but it was after some wild police chase, allegedly involving the suspect, correct?
Yes. Yeah, so we sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I want to make sure, is she doing okay this morning?
Yeah, she is doing okay, thank goodness. Obviously, we have still a lot to investigate in this case and really determine what happened during the course of the almost 9 hours that she was gone.
So rewind a little bit. I said my biggest concern right now with kids is contacting strangers online. Do we know anything about where they were contacting, where they were communicating, how it was happening?
So we haven't interviewed the juvenile female yet. Obviously, we want to let some time, a sleep cycle happen before we start an interview with her and really dive deep into the ins and outs of how they met. We do know that it was through a social media platform. We don't know which one yet, but most likely an Instagram or Snapchat, which is pretty relevant with the youth these days.
Lieutenant, did she? Can you tell us? Did she walk out through her front door? Was she lured out of another part of the home, or what was it that brought her out into that driveway? Can you fill us in on any of that?
Yeah, so she went. She told her family members that she was going to go out to their family car that was parked out in their parking spot in their complex there. And when family noticed that she had not come back inside, her father and her brother went out to the parking lot to try to find her. And that's when they observed the white Chevy Camaro in their parking stall area. They knocked on the window of the car and asked if the juvenile female was in the car, at which point our male suspect jumped in the driver's seat and sped away.
And do we have any idea where they could have gone or how close they were for those 9 hours that she was missing?
So from the little bit that we have right now is that they stayed together the entire 9 hours. We don't know where they were at. We're working with various phone providers to triangulate exactly where they went and what they did, because we may have multiple crime scenes that we're obviously looking at. And so what exactly or where they were going during that 9 hours, we don't know yet. Our detectives did interview the suspect yesterday and gained some information, but I don't know all the ins and outs of the details that were provided.
Lieutenant Andrew Smith is a public information officer with the Bountiful Police Department. Bountiful PD has been working an alleged kidnapping since it sounds like very early on Saturday morning. Did the parents give you a call right away after that car sped off?
Yeah, so we actually took the phone call about 12:21 yesterday morning, so the early hours of Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Yep, and then our patrol officers responded immediately, determined that it was a child abduction that had taken place with a non-known suspect, and so that activated our detective division as well as the Davis County Child Abduction Response Team.
And then walk us through the strange, I guess, return of this child.
Yeah, so we believe that the suspect knew that he was in some trouble and was trying to just drop the juvenile female off in the area. Our patrol officer, who was assigned to the victim's residence, observed a white Chevy Camaro matching the suspect's vehicle, driving in the area, and when he turned around on the car to identify if it was the vehicle, that's when the suspect took off.
You said during our news coverage here, I was watching KSL5 television's coverage of the story, you'd issued a warning to parents about being aware of what social media and who's, your kids are using and who they're talking to. What is your warning for parents this morning now that you know more and have had some communication with the suspect in this case?
Always be vigilant in your kids' lives. Social media, while it is great, there are hidden dangers to it. And it's not just through social media, it's gaming apps as well. Unfortunately, our kids are susceptible to these things. They think that they're talking to someone who is their age, when in fact they may not be. And because they're susceptible to those things and they are naive, they tend to believe what's being told to them. And unfortunately, across the nation, we're seeing victims of this take place, whether they're assaulted, abducted, sexually abused. You were the gamut with the social media aspect of it, and some of the gaming platforms, which are heavily used by some of our worst predators, our sex offenders out in the world that are utilizing these apps to lure children in. So be involved with your children. Have those communications that talks with them up front about the dangers of social media, and make sure you're monitoring them. Have access to your kids' accounts. Know what their passwords are so you can regularly check in. And I truly believe that having that open dialogue and building those relationships with your kids up front will save you in the long run, and actually will make your relationship a lot stronger with them.
Lieutenant, just real quickly before we let you go, was there some sort of a history of communication that the police department is aware of between the suspect and this 12-year-old?
So we know that they were talking for a period of time. We're still trying to determine exactly how long. We're working with cell phone providers to get data and app providers to get data to figure out exactly when the communication began. We do know that the suspect at the time when he first began communicating with the victim in this case was living in Arizona, had since moved to Utah. And that's all we know about that relationship. We don't know the exact time from when it began.
Lieutenant Andrew Smith, thank you for joining us from the Bountiful Police Department.
He was allegedly living in Arizona when the communication began, and then it's since moved to Utah. And just to recap, a 20-something-year-old male in custody after allegedly kidnapping a 12-year-old girl from outside her home in the wee hours of Sunday morning. You heard him say that the call came into police from her family at about 12:20-ish on Sunday morning. Gone for 9 hours, and then returns to the area, allegedly driving the same car that he had is accused of taking this girl in that for 9 hours. And they're trying to piece together where they went, where they've been, and she's now safe. He is in custody. And we're going to continue to track this story. This is a very, this is a big local story that a lot of people are really concerned about when it comes to social media and their kids, Dave. And I want you to foreshadow what you've got coming up for us in the 10 o'clock hour about cloning your child's phone.
It's so much easier than you think it is. It's not going to take a tech genius to clone your child's phone.
What does it do?
It allows you to monitor every text message, log into their Instagram accounts, their Snapchats, and you can have all of this access instantly. It's quite simple. Now, if you're wondering, like, this is a huge invasion of privacy, that's a personal choice parents are going to have to make. I've done it with my family, and I can walk you through how we did it.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: a man is dead after what police say was a hit-and-run crash between a car and a pedestrian in West Valley City last night near 3500 South and 1940 West. Police say a man in his 70s did not turn on the crossing lights, but was in the crosswalk when he was hit by a car and pronounced dead at the scene.
It is nighttime, and so you're wearing darker clothes, you're going through traffic. Drivers need to pay attention as they're coming across these intersections, even if they may have the proper green light to go through. It's still always wise to look left, look right.
West Valley City Police Lieutenant Robert Brinton says the driver kept driving but later returned to the scene. Police say that person is now cooperating. Our top national story from ABC News: Spirit Airlines is trying to reassure its customers and employees that business will be as usual at the low-cost carrier despite the bankruptcy filing.
Even an ad campaign featuring former child star Frankie Muniz.
The middle is all I've ever known, but with a blocked middle seat on Spirit, I'm not in the middle.
Hasn't been enough to turn red to black at Spirit Airlines. The carrier has voluntarily entered into Chapter 11 proceedings, saying it has financial commitments of $650 million to keep running during the restructuring.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 42 points. That's 0.1%. We're at 43,488. We've got dark clouds out there and a chance of snow today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:33. A way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
When we recently sat down with Advanced Garage Doors, I kind of chuckled to myself because my old garage door sounded like a tank was running through my house every time I opened it. Like, yeah, you got to get those things serviced. We can change out the wheels and we can lube it up and make it as quiet as a mouse. I had no idea because I've never had a garage door guy before.
Well, you do now with Advanced Garage Doors. In fact, they've got this lifetime warranty on all residential doors and parts. You'll get the peace of mind knowing that your garage door is always protected. All you got to do, Dave, is follow their recommendations.
Yeah, that's amazing. And any garage door or motor that is installed by Advanced Doors, Garage Doors, you're going to get a free inspection and a tune-up once a year for free.
Yeah, they've got this proprietary 23-point safety inspection to make sure your garage door is functioning the right way.
Financing is available. All you have to do is reach out to Advanced Garage Doors. Their website's very easy, advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com.
And you can call them, too, at 801-252-5977. Again, 801-252-5977.
I don't feel so good.
You do feel hot. Dayquil Kids will take care of that fever.
What about my cough?
Dayquil Kids has that covered.
Will it make my throat feel better?
Yes, that too.
But will it taste good?
Yep, Dayquil Kids comes in your favorite flavor.
Purple?
Well, yes, it's grape.
Try new Dayquil Kids Plus Fever, the daytime coughing, aching, sore throat fever just for kids medicine. Safe for kids 6+. Use as directed.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
This Friday, join KSL News Radio and Hale Center Theater as the movie show broadcasts live at the theater beginning at 11 a.m. 9900 South Monroe Street in Sandy. 2025 season tickets are now on sale and make great Christmas gifts. Gift cards are also available for any amount. The 2025 season includes Little Women, the Broadway musical, DreamWorks, The Prince of Egypt, Finding Neverland, 12 Angry Men, Footloose, the musical, The Musical Comedy Murders of 1940, Sister Act, and Disney's Frozen. Playing now on the center stage is Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And on the Jewel Box stage, the 40th year of A Christmas Carol. Go to hct.org or call 801-984-9000.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the snow is hitting Davis County now. Roads are very wet, and the higher elevation you go into, the slicker the roads are going to be. So just be aware of that before you make any travel plans right now. Now, as you head southbound I-15 or even northbound, the roads, again, very, very wet up in Box Elder, Weber County, and through about half of Davis County now. When you hit 200 North in Kaysville, that's where the roads dry out all the way into downtown Salt Lake. But you're also going to have wet roads, US 89, Legacy Parkway, all the city streets. The good news right now is we don't have any accidents reported. Use Superior Water and Air for all your HVAC and plumbing needs. Call 974-9090 or visit superiorwaterandair.com. Superior Water and Air. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We've got dark clouds this morning, a chance of snow today with a high of 42 degrees. Right now it's 41 downtown. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. The war in Ukraine. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Let's talk about the big international story that's happening, and that is that President Biden saying that he will now authorize Ukraine to launch long-range missiles into Russia. We'll get an update first from ABC News' Ian Pannell, who is reporting from Russia.
This morning, President Biden authorizing Ukraine to use long-range missiles against Russia for the very first time.
It will allow them to hit deep behind Russian lines, to hit supply caches, to hit troop buildup areas.
The weapons have a range of nearly 200 miles. The missiles Ukraine currently has travel only around 70 miles.
We want to make sure that Ukraine is in the best position to protect its interest.
U.S. officials saying a major factor in the shift in policy, the arrival of 10,000 North Korean troops in Russia, many expected to fight alongside the Russians to regain land in the Kursk region.
And allow me to correct myself on that. I misspoke. It wasn't that he's in Russia. Ian is reporting from Ukraine.
And when I see what's happening right now, I can't help but think back 29 months ago when this first started. Russia is amassing 100,000 troops at Ukraine's border, and Germany sends Ukraine 5,000 helmets. We send a few Javelin anti-tank weapons. And now we are authorizing, 2.5 years later, missiles, longer-range missiles to be shot, American-made missiles to be shot into Russia. Is it going to be enough? Because I'm concerned that we've given Ukraine all along the way just enough help to keep them from losing, but not actually enough to win the war.
You may have just addressed one of the questions that I had earlier in the show, which is why did President Biden need to authorize this? And then you said, well, these are American long-range missiles. Ryan Vogel with UVU, he's the director of the Center for National Studies at National Security Studies at Utah Valley University. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I'm assuming it might be a leap, maybe it's not, that this is why President Biden had to give the go-ahead to Ukraine on firing those American-supplied long-range missiles.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been watching this very closely over the course of 2 to 3 years, almost 3 years now. And the hope was that with Western support, with Ukrainian resolve, and with Russia sort of acting alone, that they would eventually be put in a weakened position, and the United States would not have to authorize something like this that could potentially escalate the conflict. But with North Korean troops coming in and North Korean resources being pumped into Russia, Russia's in this for the long haul, and I think it was time for a shift of allowing greater hits into Russia so that they can play more offense and not only defense.
Ryan, it has felt that the United States and the allies, despite sending billions and billions of dollars worth of support, aid, weapons to Ukraine, it does feel like it's been very incremental. Like, okay, let's send you tanks, and then perhaps we'll allow you to some access to some F-16 fighters. But it does feel more of a crawl, and I know Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has been begging to really be uncuffed to be able to do these kind of things to fight back.
That's right. Yeah, and I think there's two primary reasons for that. One is that Congress has been sort of divided on this, right? So Congress has not given its authorization for all the resources in a timely way over the past couple of years. So the president has been battling the domestic front on that piece. And then the second piece, and maybe this is partly the reason for congressional division, is that there's a real serious risk of escalation here. Right now, this is an important conflict for U.S. interests. But if you escalate to the point where Russia starts targeting NATO sites, then you have a whole different conflict. You have the beginning of a world war, in a sense, where Russia comes into direct conflict with NATO and with the United States. And so I think the president has been trying to balance, the support of Ukraine, the support of U.S. interests there, without risking drawing the United States directly into conflict with Russia.
Ryan Vogel is UVU's director for the Center of National Security Studies. And Ryan, I don't know, a 1 to 10 scale, what is the escalation point on the scale? Where do you think we're at with this?
I think this is probably around a 6 or 7, maybe. Putin has said repeatedly that giving Ukraine access to these types of missiles or authorization to use these missiles in the way that we've just now authorized would be an escalation and would draw appropriate measures from Russia. He says that a lot, right? I mean, he obviously doesn't want Ukraine to be supported strongly by the United States or any other Western power. But I do think this is it's a different line in the sand. All of a sudden, Ukraine can fight more offensively. They can put Russia in a more uncomfortable space. And, we'll see how Putin responds to that.
Does history show that de-escalation through escalation, does that work?
It certainly can and has. It really depends on, what kind of long support Russia has from others. I think Russia has been pursuing this conflict in spite of its interests, in spite of, some of the objectives it had at the beginning of the war. But they've been doggedly resolved in trying to win this conflict. And, these other parties that have come in here late, like North Korea, they've changed the dynamic a little bit. And I think that Ukraine is in a really tough spot right now. So this really does allow Ukraine some new life and some new hope in this conflict. And we'll just see if it can continue. What Ukraine needs is not support for a short term. They need long-term support from all of their allies and partners in the region.
Ryan Vogel, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Utah Valley University's director for the Center of National Security Studies. Thank you.
And we'll continue to go in depth on this in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll speak to another international expert on this very issue, Dave.
And one of the things I saw as we've looked at this for over almost 3 years, early on, Russia had overtaken basically the entire eastern border of Ukraine. And largely that has shifted down to the southern, the lower southeast part of Ukraine. But the key here, Russia really owns the coastline of the Black Sea along southern Ukraine. and that's where most of the Russia territories have been camped.
Straight ahead, the Kamala Harris campaign spent $1.5 billion in their 15-week campaign for the Oval Office.
And I pledge to be a president for all Americans. Now I'm asking for your vote, because as president, I will get up every day and
she
fight
lost
for the
by
American people.
quite a bit. So does money not matter in presidential races? We'll go in depth next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Here's another satisfied customer of 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, Anita Bennett.
When I first heard about 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, I thought, there's no way they could do a good job in 3 days, and they must carry only the plain Jane basics in cabinets, countertops, and flooring. Then they came to our house, and we found out they offered top quality materials with tons of choices and lots of custom options. They worked with us to design a bathroom that was perfect for our family. They looked at our needs and thought of details I hadn't even considered. The installation was clean, thorough, and professional, and they were done in just 3 days. When we got back from the hotel, I couldn't believe the difference. The bathroom is beautiful.
See us on the web at 3daykitchen.com.
It's about time.
3 days or less.
At 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Visit the contest page on KSLNewsRadio.com. This week, win tickets to Ballet West, The Nutcracker, December 6th through the 28th at the Capitol Theater. Celebrate the 80th anniversary of America's first Nutcracker with Ballet West, or win tickets to Michael McLean's The Forgotten Carols. Experience a family Christmas tradition with The Forgotten Carols December 18th through the 21st at Cottonwood High. Text the word contest to 57500 or go to KSLNewsRadio.com/contests.
To all you tool people out there, has Harbor Freight got a deal for you? Big savings every single day this November. Because we know that right now, when the price of everything only seems to go up, you need a place where prices stay low. So shop in-store or online for quality tools you can trust at prices you'll love every day. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Fall is the season of change. As the leaves start to fall, it's time to rake in extra cash for the changes you need with a 4.99% APR home equity line of credit from Golden West Credit Union. Finally start that kitchen remodel, pay for unexpected expenses, or consolidate high-interest debt. Enjoy this low promotional rate for 6 months and make your home's equity work for you. Golden West Credit Union. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 440574.
We'll take care of you.
Ready for a new adventure? Right now, Golden West Credit Union has you covered with low-rate loans for your next car, RV, or power sports vehicle with no payments for 90 days. Whether it's a smooth commute or an off-road thrill, we'll help you hit the road with a little more money in your pocket. Apply in minutes at gwcu.org or ask for Golden West financing at the dealership. Golden West Credit Union.
We'll take care of you.
The Good Feed Store. The life you love starts here.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Scott, and I have a podcast called Project Recovery. I talk about my own journey from addiction to a lifelong one in recovery. I'm joined by my good friend and a clinical psychologist, Dr. Matt Woolley.
You know, it's your story, Casey, but we also hear inspiring stories of others who join the show from rock bottom to living a life of recovery.
That's Project Recovery, a show about addiction, but more importantly, it's about recovery. Follow us for free on KSLPodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, police say a man is recovering after a stabbing in Ogden over the weekend. The man attempted to chase 2 people he suspected were robbing his car. Second, a man in his 70s is dead after a hit-and-run accident in West Valley. Police say the man turned himself in shortly after. Third, a 12-year-old girl is now back with her family in Bountiful following an alleged kidnapping that led to an Amber Alert. Right now, it's cloudy and 41 degrees downtown. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic. Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Well, the headline in the New York Times caught our attention this morning. How Kamala Harris burned through $1.5 billion in 15 weeks. I've actually been very curious about this because we know that she was able to fundraise like no other in the time she made the announcement to replace Joe Biden on the Democratic ticket. And I was very curious because I did happen to see a lot of her ads and social media influencers working on her behalf on different social media platforms. And now we're getting an idea of how her campaign was spending this money. And ultimately, she still lost.
It was incredible to see the amount of money she was able to raise. I mean, it was right out of the gate. It was hundreds of millions of dollars. It was incredible to see. And this is in part why I think Joe Biden had dropped out or felt the pressure, is because the fundraising had dried up. And you had high-end movie stars, George Clooney, writing op-ed pieces saying, you know, Biden's diminished, he's got to drop out. And then we saw this huge, precipitous drop in fundraising from the Biden campaign. It kind of forces him out. And then as soon as Harris takes over, it is money after money after money. It is unreal. We've never seen that kind of money raised in such a short amount of time. And raising it's one thing. Spending it is another. Because it's not as easy to spend. You've got to find, okay, what advertising am I going to do? Where are we going to fly? What events are we going to hold? So they're showing us she was spending about $100 million a week.
$100 million a week. And she had a short runway. I'll get into 2 reasons why I felt, or 2 missteps that I saw in the campaign. And why I think that this advertising, no matter what the budget was, might not have worked. And part of that was the short runway. But speaking of $100 million a week, I really want to break this down, Dave, and get into the nuance of it, because where I think a lot of us probably saw her advertising was on social media. And New York Times cites that there was about $2.5 million directed toward 3 digital ad agencies that work with online influencers. So it seems as though she was having online influencers of people that are, really well known on social media take up her cause, and that they had directed some of the campaign funding to that. The other thing that I saw toward the last minute was they had booked advertising on the Sphere, the new venue in Las Vegas, where everybody says you got to go see a concert. Have you been there? People say, have you not seen the Sphere?
I've seen it.
Like
It's amazing. It looks incredible.
It's amazing. Well,
yeah. U2 was playing there.
I was
opened.
Scrolling through social media one night, and there's her face rolling around, Kamala Harris's face rolling around in the Sphere. And they did spend some money on that as well. And they also had a drone show in the sky before the debate in Philadelphia in September. And at the Pittsburgh Steelers game in October. So they were coming at the crowd, at the voters, from all different forms of advertising.
And it would be interesting to find out as time passes, was there an oversaturation? Was it too much?
That's a good question.
Because quite honestly, you couldn't go online, you couldn't watch a football game without being bombarded constantly with political ads. And it really was almost 2-1 Harris to Trump, in part because the Democratic National Party, they raised over $2.1 billion in total.
The Democrats did?
The Democrats did. This was including Joe Biden, but Kamala Harris, again, $1.5 billion just in 15 weeks.
But this article says Trump and the Republican Party together raised $1.2 billion.
Right.
So that's quite a bit of money too.
Yeah, it's a ton of money. Yeah. Now it's $1 billion less than the Democrats were able to raise, and you could really see they were spending it. They were spending it, as you said, on media influencers, on consultants, just about anywhere where they could, because they had money to burn.
Which to me was kind of something new I hadn't really seen over the years. Of course, social media, every time we turn around, there's a new app. It's exploding. It's becoming more popular. But I did wonder how or if that was going to impact the race in any way. And New York Times has said, despite her significant financial advantage, Harris became the first Democratic presidential candidate to lose the national popular vote in 2 decades. So it didn't ultimately boost her over former President Trump, now President-elect Donald Trump. However, I do think that this could potentially be the new way that candidates start to campaign.
There's a couple of things that stood out to me that were different. Now, obviously, we don't know what kind of role the money spent. Maybe if she doesn't spend $1.5 billion in 15 weeks, maybe she loses by 50 million more votes. Like we just don't know how much of an impact. Maybe it helped her as much as she could be helped. Maybe it turned people off. But there's a couple things that really stood out to me. Number one, how much money she spent again on social media influencers, right? We know that she hired social media influencers. That's to campaign for her, to endorse her. That's not brand new information. What I thought was interesting is what is being referred to as earned media, whereas you're not paying for these interviews or you're not paying for the influence. Donald Trump went on the biggest media influencer of them all, Joe Rogan, and sat down for 2.5, 3 hours with Joe Rogan. That is considered earned media. He didn't pay to go on. He just had a conversation. And that kind of reach, was more than 50 million people watched that podcast, that had a huge reach. So I wonder, is this changing the way people are looking at funding campaigns? Like, do you get earned media where you're not paying for it?
You're just getting media coverage.
Exactly, media coverage.
You're just getting news coverage. Is that what you're saying by earned media? Candidates speak and the news covers it on the campaign trail, and you see the stories air on your local news or in the national news. But you're talking about this different type of media, which has exploded. It's podcasting.
Yeah, and this has been very popular. And she did try to do some of this. Kamala Harris went on to the Call Her Daddy podcast. And they're speaking of just the amount of money, I think it was the New York Post that had reported that they actually built, instead of traveling to the Call Her Daddy podcast, they actually built the studio, like a replica of it in New York, I believe it was, some estimates had it cost about $100,000 to recreate that set to do that interview. But $100,000 when you're talking about $100 million per week is basically nothing.
Dave and I talking about Kamala Harris and the Democrats and the amount of money they raised. New York Times reporting that they spent $1.5 billion in her 15-week presidential campaign. So 2 things I saw here that I think really affected her. She didn't have enough runway. If President Biden had gotten out of the race sooner, Dave, she might have had a little less oversaturation, been able to spread that money out over a longer stretch of time. And then I did wonder, after all was said and done, we started seeing the votes come in the days after the election, if the Democrats had missed the mark on the messaging. And ultimately, I think where people were voting was with their pocketbook. And we've talked about that many times in the past, is that it's usually the economy that influences voters or gets people off the couch and gets them to the ballot box. And I think those are ultimately, I mean, there's going to be a lot that plays out here over the coming days and weeks when the Democrats, start getting their heads together. But ultimately, I think those 2 things really hurt her.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Police responded to multiple shootings over the weekend in Salt Lake. One of them happened near the 800 South Park Street area, where 2 people were involved. One of them shot the other before locking themselves in a home. When police finally entered, they were found dead. The other event on Saturday was in Sugar House. Police say a man was killed after a fight near 11th East and 21st South. The second man was hospitalized, several people detained. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden now authorizing Ukraine to use long-range U.S. missiles to strike inside Russia, but not too deep, as we hear from ABC's Patrick Reevell in northern Ukraine.
It appears that the appearance of North Korean troops was the factor that was decisive in pushing the Biden administration into finally allowing Ukraine to go ahead and use these missiles. But I think when people hear that authorization has been given to hit deep into Russia, they imagine that it could be much further, going to Moscow, something like that. No, what we're talking about right now is a very specific region that is a border region where Ukraine is already fighting, and indeed fighting with American weapons already.
That's ABC's Patrick Reevell. Your money at this moment. The Dow Jones average is down, but just slightly. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, is up about 130 points right now. And our KSL weather. We've got some snow falling in downtown Salt Lake. That's next. KSL News Time 10:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thank you for talking.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the big differences, I think, between reading a story online and hearing it from us, Tim, is that, you and I are allowed to share a reaction. We need to be able to say, what in the world were they thinking? So that people listening will know. We feel it too. When we read a story that sounds ridiculous, we're right with you. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, we get caught up, I'm sure just like our listeners do sometimes, in death scrolling on social media. And fact-checking it on your own is tough. The great thing about tuning in every morning and starting your morning with us on KSL is you can count on the fact that when that information comes out of the radio in your direction, it comes from reliable sources.
It's already been fact-checked.
Right. And that's not always easy when you're getting it online. Finding who wrote it, when was it written, has it been updated with the current facts of the day that change sometimes minute to minute, not just day to day.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got snowplows out in Sardine Canyon. Snow has been sticking to that roadway. That's US 89 going between Brigham City and Logan. It's been sticking there for a couple of hours now, and we've already had a crash near Manaway. That is blocking the left shoulder, so traffic is very slow.
both directions in Sardine Canyon. Now, as you come on I-15 southbound out of Weber and Davis County, the roads are very wet with snow coming down. It's now into the Farmington area. Once you get past Farmington, roads will dry out, but that snowstorm is coming our way into Salt Lake. Advanced Window Products offer Graber window coverings, high-end quality with the best warranty. Save 30% off when you mention KSL. AdvancedWindows.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, we've had a snow shower in downtown Salt Lake the last few minutes, and we could see more, especially from Ogden northward today. More snow tomorrow, especially at higher elevations. And right now, 39 degrees with that light snow. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. And special coverage of the top local story.
Oh, Vineyard, Utah. You were such a sleepy little town for so many years on the east shore of Utah Lake. I remember driving there, Dave, many, many, many years ago. And now you've gone from just a few hundred homes back then when I was driving through. I couldn't even blink my eyes, and I would be through Vineyard. One survey found that Vineyard's population exploded 7,054% from 2013.
Wait, what? What number?
7,054% from 2013 to 2022. And now, thanks to coverage by our colleagues at KSL.com, I'm reading about parking chaos in the area. Imagine that.
I will tell you, my first real experience with Vineyard is when they built the golf place, Topgolf down there.
Yeah.
I'm like, Topgolf's in Vineyard? Like, of all places, I've never even heard of Vineyard. I've passed through Vineyard maybe one time until I drove out there, and there was unbelievable growth. I'd never seen such an explosion. I mean, I've been through Vineyard before. I'm sure I had. It was cow pastures. It was nothing out there. It was right, next to Utah Lake. That was like one nice thing about it. But then to see these huge companies building, again, like Topgolf is massive. There's only a couple of them here in the entire state, and they chose that. Well, in part because Vineyard has exploded. It's right in between. It's got, a ton of students down there because you got UVU and BYU.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not necessarily close. They're not walking distance, but they're
close-ish.
15, 20 minutes away.
If you're not familiar with it, it's in Utah County. And many, many, many years ago, you just, like I said, you drive through Vineyard, you'd blink, and you'd be done driving through Vineyard. But a lot of people knew it because, if you fish on Utah Lake or you boat on Utah Lake or you recreate out there, it's kind of one of the access points to Utah Lake. Well, now there's just a ton of homes, and it's growing. And now they're experiencing what a lot of communities, whether it is South Jordan in the Daybreak area. We had our share of parking issues as well on street parking, or Farmington. You live in Farmington. There's a lot of townhomes around Farmington Station that may be causing some parking issues for street parking. Well, we're going to dive into what Vineyard is trying to do to tackle their parking issue. City leaders, they're trying to figure out some solutions, and it has been just, it sounds like it's a growing problem. When they get it fixed or they think they get it fixed in one part of Vineyard, the fix kind of moves the problem to another area. Let's get more from KSL News Radio's Michael Commit, who reported about this morning on Utah's Morning News.
Residents have been really struggling with parking space, even in front of their own homes. And at the city level, there's been issues with people parking next to stop signs or even fire hydrants. According to the Deseret News, residents say part of the problem is seeing more renters per home than is allowed. To this end, transportation consultant Thomas McBurdy suggested to city leaders that landlords attend mandatory meetings on these rules and regulations. In the meantime, the city is floating around a few other ideas. These include improving public transit, creating safer bike lanes and crosswalks, or limiting the number of street parking per household. Michael Commit, KSL News Radio.
Now, I can't totally blame leadership, whatever the mayor, city council in Vineyard, because how could you possibly foresee this kind of increase, a 7,054% increase in a decade, that kind of population explosion. So, of course, the roads are going to be too narrow. There's not going to be enough parking anywhere because it just keeps growing. Now, maybe a little bit of the blame can come in from what you're authorizing, how many homes and townhomes and growth, high density areas that you're allowing to be built. Sure, you could have seen some of that coming, but nevertheless, that is just exploding in population.
So we have reached out to the city leadership, by the way. We did this morning, our team did, and we're waiting to hear back to see if they can join us to walk through what direction they're going in terms of some solutions. But here's what I'm reading about on KSL.com. It seems like they've implemented some sort of permit parking program for $5 monthly permits to park on at least one street there. And those are almost sold out, it looks like. So they have 82 available permits. So that's one solution. And then you heard Michael Commit report, and this is the area that I really wanted to lean into. This is the solution where you limit the number of available parking spots on the street per home. Well, that's a little scary, I think, if you're a homeowner and you have kids that are teenagers. Maybe they're driving, they're sharing a car. Maybe they bought their own car, and you have 2 or 3 kids. You're living in a townhome. Just my daughter and I, we take up 2 spots sometimes on the street. And if we have to have a friend over or a couple of friends stop by, then it's 4 spots. Or if I have family in town, then it's, another couple of spots. So the limiting of street parking on a public street, that would be an issue for me as a homeowner.
And one of the problems with street parking, and I noticed this in an area in Farmington where they've had similar just explosive growth. When you are forcing people to park on the streets, you don't have the crosswalks. So oftentimes when somebody is parking on the other side of the street, and they're carrying their bags or their groceries and they're trying to time the traffic as it's passing through to cross, when you have not planned for this and you're just basically got some overflow parking on the street, then you've got the concerns about, okay, well, now when you're crossing constantly the streets without crosswalks, without any kind of lights or warnings, then it can become extremely dangerous.
Well, that's the flip side of this, right? I mean, I talked about being the homeowner. It's like, I need more than 1 or 2 permits, maybe not all year round, but occasionally I've got some family in town and they need to be able to park their rental car. But the flip side of it is, and I've seen this issue in my own neighborhood, where people are just parking way too close to stop signs, and so you can't see around, or the street is so narrow and there is cars parked on both sides of the street, and so you have to take a number to get through this, through the street to drive through, and you have to hope the person on the other side that's waiting to go is like not road raging in the moment and in a hurry. So I've seen people just get really frustrated, and you got these cars parked on both sides of the road. It is an issue as we continue to grow in Utah, and it's not just in my community, your community, and Vineyard, but if we're leaning into the high-density housing. I love living in a townhome for a lot of reasons I've talked about on the show, but as you lean into the high-density housing, some of these come with 1-car garages, and they don't have a lengthy driveway in the back. It's literally like a little spot, and you can't even really park a car there. I've seen my neighbors try to parallel park in front of their garage, and I'm like, you're super creative. I'm not quite sure that's going to work out well, but they do it maybe for a short while. But they don't have a driveway to park an extra car or 2. So one of the things Vineyard is considering, as I'm looking at this article, Dave, is building some parking structures. But boy, I don't know how that works out after the fact either. If there's enough land. Where do you park your car? Do you take an Uber then to your home, or do they have some sort of a busing system that gets you there and park your car half a mile away and, it's a blizzard, you got to walk home? I mean, there's all kinds of issues with that, right?
Great questions should have been addressed before you allow the building, right? Now that the buildings have gone up and you've sold the homes or rented out the apartments, okay, great. Well, to this point, what are we doing now? Because is there a shuttle system? Is there a busing system? Am I going to have to walk half a mile every time that I want to leave my home? And it's part of a development and a planning problem, but we have to prioritize, and we have to accept the fact that there's going to be big parking lots, and you cannot take every square inch of a community and just throw another townhome up there, because you have to. You cannot say we've got a 4-bedroom townhome and 1 parking place. Like, those kids are going to grow up at some point. You're going to have a second car. It's bad planning. It's bad designing from the developers, and the city's got to step in and say, no. This is going to infect the entire area and congest it.
Straight ahead, let's take your live phone calls, 801-575-TALK, and you get bonus points. You get the D2 Fast Pass. You get to move to the front of the line if you live in Vineyard and you're going through this parking dilemma. 801-575-TALK. What is your parking nightmare on the street you live? 801-575-TALK. Your live calls next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
I've been telling you guys about the Macy's Harvest of Hope for a while now, and I'm excited about it because I didn't realize how much our families here in Utah are struggling with food insecurity. In Utah, there's 317,000 people, about 1 in 11 folks that are struggling with some sort of food insecurity. So Macy's Harvest of Hope looks to raise $200,000 to help provide some of those basics that food pantries are in such desperate need of. You know, the peanut butter, mac and cheese, tuna fish, chili, the box meals that are so easy to prepare. All you have to do is go into Macy's, and they have these cool little bags that you can grab and check out. It's just a little $5 bag that you can donate. If you want to make a donation online, if you're not near a Macy's, or you want to do it right now as you're listening to me, you can make a donation online at Macys.com/online. Just go to Macys.com/online.
The KSL News Radio app will update you on breaking stories.
A house explosion this afternoon.
And you'll get exclusive audio streams from local events, breaking news, and sports.
Cougars feel like they can overcome anything.
All of your favorite KSL hosts are there too, so you can listen anytime. Plus traffic and weather. Download it today. The app for KSL News Radio.
Don't you deserve healthcare you can count on? Well, you can count on United Healthcare with Medicare plans that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. You can enjoy reliable coverage and low out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans. Made for Utah, trusted everywhere. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest-standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
On the surface, it seemed like just another Cinderella story.
A team that was predicted to finish dead last is now waiting to play the first round of the playoffs.
But Real Salt Lake's 2021 playoff run was so much more than what happened on the pitch.
Our club is burning to the ground.
This is the tip of the iceberg. Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, Salt Lake City police responded to a couple of shootings over the weekend. Second, President Biden allowing Ukraine to use American missiles to hit targets further inside Russia. Third, the city of Vineyard trying to figure out what to do with all the cars parked around apartment complexes. 39 degrees with some light snow in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We're talking about parking issues, street parking issues in the exploding city, booming city, I should say, of Vineyard, which is on the east shore of Utah Lake. Lots of new development there. They've grown, according to one survey, like 7,000% between 2013 and 2022. And now they're, with new homes, new development, lots of new people, comes parking troubles.
Parking troubles have been so radically underestimated in this explosion of high-density housing. And what happens is when you don't address and aggressively address parking issues, people turn sour on high-density housing. This is a lesson that we have to learn, that if we're going to have high-density housing, you have to really prioritize the parking and the growth of that area. Otherwise, people are going to say, oh, I despise high-density housing. We're not going to do it in our neighborhood.
801-575-TALK. Share your parking nightmare in your own neighborhood. And you get what did I say? You get the Fast Pass. You get the D2 Fast Pass.
If you're in Vineyard,
to get to the front of the line in this discussion. If you call us and you live in the Vineyard area. Do we have calls, Dave?
Yeah, we got Marie and Sandy. Nice. Marie, where you at on this?
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
Doing great. Thanks for calling.
Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday. I just wanted to point out, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, but I've lived in an apartment complex, and I'm also living in a townhome right now. And in both places during the winter, when they plow, they'll plow the big piles of snow into a parking lot or in a parking space.
Oh, yeah.
So the already limited spaces are now even less because of all the snow that we get. And then and in the first one, I had 2 parking passes, and it was still so limited. And then in my current one, there's no passes, but the parking is still ridiculous.
Oh, that's such a great point. I'd forgotten about snow, even though we got a little snow this weekend where I live in Syracuse. Yeah, the snow, and when the snow plows come through, it just eats up all those parking places. Larry, okay, we said you go to the top of the list. Larry's a former city manager in Vineyard.
Nice, Larry. Thanks
you
for
are
calling.
so the perfect person to talk to about this, Larry. Hey, walk us through.
Well, thank you very much. I spent 18 years as a city manager. I was the first city administrator in Roosevelt, Utah, and then I served the rest of my 18 years in California, in Monterey County and in Los Angeles County. And then I was 14 years as director of community services in Sutter County, California. So I was over planning and zoning and building inspection and environmental services. And
you know your stuff, Larry. I love it. You're the perfect person. Okay, so walk us through what's going on in Vineyard.
So the first thing that you would notice here as you drove into Vineyard until this weekend was where the train station is. And you would see that on the streets nearby the parking lot, they would be filled with cars. And the reason for that is, sadly, for the people that live across the street in those apartments, there's not enough parking for them. So my point is cities, and I know the debate on this, but cities need to make sure that developers provide the parking that is reasonable for what they're building. If you don't do that, then you're causing the whole community a problem where people end up having to park on the streets, but then they can't because you do have the snow plows and everything. And it's a congestion issue that people that buy into those places don't want to have. And so really it's incumbent upon the people that do the development to provide that, and it's up to the city or county, if it's out in the county, to make sure that they provide adequate parking.
Well, Larry, you were the city manager, at least for it sounds like for quite some time in Vineyard. Did you ever bring this up with developers as the city was getting larger and larger?
Yeah. I was never the city manager in Vineyard.
Oh, you weren't? Oh,
No.
it says you live in Vineyard.
You've been a city manager in the past,
So
and now
sorry.
you live.
Okay, I'm sorry. I clarify. I'm just reading the notes from our producer here, and I just read them a little bit off. So okay, so you weren't. So you're saying you were a city manager in Roosevelt,
Utah, which is a little community, but then I was in California for
I see.
16 years in Monterey County and Los Angeles County.
Oh, so what you're saying is that city managers and other city leaders have to really get with developers and make sure they provide enough parking.
That's right, and I'm really pro-development in my philosophy. I think you need to have, development, but you need to have it balanced, commercial, residential, and so forth, or else you can't pay for the services.
I see.
But I'm pro-development. I believe that the developers have to provide adequate parking, especially in the Western United States. There's a philosophy of individualism and freedom, and people are not going to give up their cars because environmentalists say we need to give them up, we need to ride the trains, we need to ride the buses. But in the West, that's just not going to happen.
Well, look, Larry, when I look at my insurance rates and I have to register my car again, I sometimes just want to walk away from my car and say, somebody take it off my hands. Diane in Bountiful, your son lives in Vineyard. Good morning.
My son lived in Vineyard, went to a medical school down there.
Okay.
And what he found was cheaper housing in Vineyard versus Orem or Provo to be able to drive to school. But where he lived was just like a condo, and the owner of it bought it and then bought another house, lived in the other house, and rented the house that my son lived in. So there were 6 young men living in that house, and there was only a place to park for 2 because it was just a regular residency kind of a thing. And so he was scrambling every day to not get the boot on the side of the street.
Oh, they would boot him.
Yeah, because he couldn't find a place to park. Couldn't find a place to park. And it wasn't because, it was a normal home for like if a normal family would buy it, but this guy had bought it and then was renting it to 6 different people, and they had 6 cars. So just throwing that out there.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm looking through this article in the Deseret News, and it says that Vineyard does have a limit of 4 unrelated individuals per home. So if there are 6 people, that speaks to the problem that they're having where landlords are renting to more occupants than are permitted.
I'm looking at our text line, 57500. This texter says, don't live in Vineyard, but they used to live in the Salt Lake City area just southeast of Rice-Eccles Stadium. They were issued 2 permits from the city to park on the street and tickets to anyone else who parked there, and they had to adjust. Yeah, you would adjust. I would just be running around, setting alarms, running outside, moving cars around. But that doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
This is not unique. This is happening all over the state in densely populated areas. I think right now in some of our universities, when kids are living, close to the universities. My daughter lives in Provo, and it is impossible parking. And you've got these apartment complexes that are right in the middle of the city, or with residential housing all over the place. There is not a parking place to be had on the street because these apartment complexes that are housing thousands of kids, of students, they're just taking up every parking spot on the road, and they will all year long. And it is bumper to bumper, impossible to park. And every time you leave, you're never going to get your same parking place, because we have not required developers to take into account parking and require, say, if you're going to have 1,000 people in this apartment complex, and you need 1,000 parking places at least. And we've done a poor job of that.
Straight ahead, Dave's going to go in depth on how to clone your child's phone. He said he wanted to talk about this after we learned of a child being allegedly taken from her own, not inside her home, but had met somebody over social media and went to his car early in the morning on Sunday morning. And then she went missing. She's 12 years old for 9 hours. We spoke earlier to the Bountiful Police Department about the developments in this case.
Social media, while it is great, there are hidden dangers to it. Unfortunately, our kids are susceptible to these things. They think that they're talking to someone who is their age, when in fact they may not be.
Police telling us they believe that is how the male connected with this 12-year-old female. And Dave's going to explain to us in just a few minutes how to better track your child on social media by cloning their phone. That's next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. KSL's top local story this hour. A man died in an alleged hit-and-run crash in West Valley City last night. This happened around 8:15 near 35th South and 1940 West. West Valley Police Lieutenant Robert Brenton says a man in his 70s was killed on the scene while he was in a crosswalk.
He was going from the south end to the north end, and in the middle of the road looks like is where the incident occurred.
Brenton says the driver initially did not stop but later returned. We're still waiting to see if police will recommend charges against the driver. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. 39 cases of E. coli illness and 1 death have been blamed on packaged carrots. ABC's Brian Clark has more.
These carrots have been pulled from stores, but they were sold under a variety of big brand names, including Good & Gather, 365, Nature's Promise, Trader Joe's, and Wegmans. The Best By dates on the baby carrots range from September 11th to November 12th. The whole carrots don't have dates, but were available in stores from about August 14th through October 23rd. Brian Clark, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average just barely down on the day, while the NASDAQ is down about 127 points right now. And at KSL weather, we've had some snow showers in downtown Salt Lake already today. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
One of the things I've loved with Salt Lake City Fat Loss is the results, right? If any of us are going to join a program to lose weight, we want to see not just a little nibbling at the edges. We want some wholesale changes, and we want to see some big results. And with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, I lost 57 pounds in 60 days. Now, many people will lose nearly a pound of fat a day like I did. Others will lose 20 to 30 pounds in just a month or two. In fact, I have 2 friends I just talked to recently that lost over 30 pounds in just over 2 months or just under 2 months. And they feel great and are excited about those results. If you're interested, go ahead and reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss. They do it without injections, without surgery, and SLC Fat Loss is a great resource for you if you're looking at losing some weight. SLCFatLoss.com is the website, SLCFatLoss.com.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our clients' portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
We've got a crash on the West Side Belt. This is I-215 northbound, just before you get to the 700 North exit. The right lane and shoulder are blocked, and one of the vehicles was facing backwards, so traffic is a bit slow in the area. In fact, right now it looks like UHP has shut down all traffic lanes for a few minutes, probably to turn this wrong-way vehicle around. So that is causing delays as you come up from I-80 towards 700 North. The rest of your roadways from about South Salt Lake north are very wet with snow falling down. By the time you get into Murray, the roads there are still dry, but they won't be for long as the snow keeps marching south. This holiday season, Murdoch Hyundai is grateful for you. Celebrate during the Murdoch Hyundai Season of Giving sales event. Receive 0% for 4 years on the Elantra, Sonata, Tucson, or Santa Fe. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy with snow showers today, a high of 42, and we could see more snow later today from Ogden northward and tomorrow as well, especially at higher elevations. 37 degrees with light snow right now. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
We have an update on a story that we've been tracking all morning long here at KSL News Radio, and that was the child abduction of a 12-year-old girl from outside of her home in Bountiful early in the morning on Sunday morning. And now police have updated the information regarding the suspect in this case, saying they now believe, even though initially they had reported, or we were reporting here as well, that the suspect was in his 20s. They're now saying in further investigation, they've learned that the suspect that they've taken into custody was a juvenile. We will be getting a live update from the Bountiful Police Department, who did call the show earlier in the day. They called in the 9 o'clock hour. They will be calling again at 11:50 to give us more information of what they can release regarding this latest turn of events in this ongoing investigation. And Dave, I know you want to talk to us about social media and the importance of being vigilant with our child's electronic devices. But before we get there, I want to make sure that we note for our listeners that the 12-year-old girl was found out. It seemed like it turned into some sort of a police chase. She was eventually found. She's safe. The police department said she is safe. This individual was taken into custody, now known to be a juvenile, and that they had been communicating over social media, according to police. And they told us in the 9 o'clock hour that they believed that he had come here from Arizona, and we'll get more information on that, and eventually suspected him of being inside that car that drove off with this girl overnight on Sunday morning.
So the larger question that we're asking right now is, how do you help monitor your kids' social media? How do you monitor their phones, who they're talking with, who they're communicating with? Because it is difficult. There are so many social media apps out there. There's so many ways to communicate with kids. It can be overwhelming. And I feel your pain, parents, because we're all going through this, right? We don't know exactly what to do. I can tell you what I did and what my family did to help keep track of our kids. And it's going to sound very like Mission Impossible. We cloned their phones. Now, if you're wondering, like, well, what does that mean? Clone your phones? You basically mirror their phone on another device. So what we did, and before you start screaming at the phone, that's a complete and total invasion of their privacy. You're right. 100% it's an invasion of their privacy. We told them. This was not something we did in secret. We told our kids, hey, here's your phone. Just so you know, Mom and I are cloning it, which means I get to see every text message. I'm going to log into every social media account. I can look into your DMs, and we will. So that was the understanding. If the kids wanted the phone, we said, are you cool with that? Guess how many kids said no to that offer? 0. They all accepted that. Now, what we did is we didn't abuse it. We didn't, every time they sent a text, we didn't like make fun of them, like, oh, we saw who you were texting. You were texting a girl. Oh, we never bring it up unless there was some sort of an issue. So,
well, I want to just take a step back for just a moment, because when we were talking to Lieutenant Andrew Smith with Bountiful PD when he called the show earlier, he talked about the importance of parents monitoring their kids' social media use and who they're talking to on gaming apps as well.
Always be vigilant in your kids' lives. Social media, while it is great, there are hidden dangers to it. And it's not just through social media, it's gaming apps as well. Unfortunately, our kids are susceptible to these things. They think that they're talking to someone who is their age, when in fact they may not be. And because they're susceptible to those things and they are naive, they tend to believe what's being told to them. And unfortunately,
so did you have a scenario inside your home that happened that made you want to go to the extent of cloning your kids' phones onto a device?
No. Nothing scary happened.
Nothing stood out.
No, it was nothing like they didn't lose trust or have a close call.
You just did this out of an abundance of caution.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in the news business. I see too many of these stories, so we wanted to figure out a way. Okay, what's the best way to do it? In fact, I think it was on accident that we figured it out. And it was essentially because our kids had an iPad and then they had an iPhone. And what we realized is when they signed into their account on the iPad, that it basically was cloning their phone. So we saw the all the same apps, and that's where we came up with the idea at first. Is it was more coincidental.
So can you walk us through? Is it easy to walk
it's
through
super
on
simple.
radio?
Listen, it's very simple because there's not much to it. Okay. I'm going to talk about iPhones and iPads. Now, you can do a Google search and you can figure out if you have an Android. There's apps where you can clone a phone, but this is the simple way that we did it, and perhaps a way that you could do it. Say you have a kid that's 12 years old and they have your old iPhone. They have their iPhone 10, right? And the 12-year-old for Christmas wants an upgrade, so you're going to get them an iPhone 12 or iPhone 13, whatever. So what do? Oh, you're just transferring all your information to the new iPhone. Well, the iPhone 10 still has all the logins, all the information. Just don't erase it. Don't throw it away. Leave it active. So when you transfer all the information to your new iPhone 13 or 14, whatever you gave your kid, just leave the iPhone 10 active, plug it in, and then you just keep it. So that when they do receive a text message, it pops up on their phone, but it also pops up on their old iPhone 10 as well. So you can monitor that. You can open up when they get a direct message from Instagram. It'll pop up on their new iPhone 14, and it'll pop up on their iPhone 10.
That you're now packing around.
That now I'm packing around. We just had it by our bed.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
so right. We didn't literally carry it with us.
But you could have.
You can't because it doesn't have the SIM card. So it doesn't have the cell phone card so they're not simultaneously being used.
I get that.
So the old phone is just working off of Wi-Fi while their current phone is using the SIM card.
Okay. So you need to be a little tech savvy that way to know that leave it on the nightstand.
Yeah, leave it at home, have it connected to your Wi-Fi, and that way you can look. And we will occasionally, again, we don't do this often, but every once in a while we'll just do a check. We'll pull up the iPad, we'll go through and kind of spot check some of their apps.
So Here's what would red flag for me to check is if my child's behavior suddenly changed, if they had gone from being super social, like around, the family dinner table, to wanting to dismiss themselves from the family dinner table and go hide out in their room. And in this case,
if they're hiding their phone from you every time you walk by, they're tilting it away from you.
Exactly. So those would be kind of the red flags for me. How about you? What prompts you to check? Is it just a regular check, like an occasional audit?
Yes. Yeah. I would say an occasional audit, but boy, what a great piece of advice that you had right there is if you start noticing some of those concerning behavior changes, depression, anxiety, some of those things start popping up, if they're being super secretive or sus, as the kids call it, they're being sus, then that would be a great time to look at it. We spot check it. We probably don't check it as often as they think we do, but I will remember. I want to take people's phone calls right now.
What do you want to ask our listeners, Dave?
Do you think it's an invasion of privacy? Do you think I've crossed the lines? Is this bad parenting on my part that I've reached across and just told my kids, hey, listen, and guess what, guys? This is happening to 17-year-olds. This wasn't just my 12-year-old. This is 17 years old, 18 before they move out. Like they just accept it.
They get spot checked.
Yeah, they get spot checked. Is that an invasion of privacy, or is this like parent of the year? I don't know. I'd love to hear from you.
You know what I'm going to say.
I wonder
what
our
listeners are going to say. 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. Is Dave's dad clone move an invasion of privacy, or does it make him dad of the year? Look forward to your live calls next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Join KSL and Tim and Amanda this Friday from 3 to 5 at the Salt Lake MPS store at 1600 Empire Road, mpsstore.com.
At Shane Company, we want you to be the holiday hero. We have so many ways to create unique, fine jewelry gifts. Give a ring or necklace with their favorite gemstone like amethyst or peachy morganite, one to match their eyes, or even pick out their favorite team colors. Customize our North Star charm with the gemstone of your choice for a reminder to follow their own path. Or create a personalized piece with zodiac, birthstone, and diamond letter charms. Visit us in store and shop online at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
It's official. KSL Sports is your official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club. When the puck hits the ice this fall, you'll hear every goal, every check, and every tension-filled moment on the KSL Sports Zone. Plus, let your voice be heard on the Utah Hockey Club Fan Forum on KSLSports.com. Your exclusive home of the NHL and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah is KSL Sports and 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Let me tell you an amazing story. Last week, a customer came in. They were a creative director for an agency, and they were frustrated that their old, slow computer wasn't processing their files quick enough. He had a big project due and could not afford any delays. Well, we hooked him up with one of our new, powerful 2025 desktops for only $999, and he was able to complete his project with ease. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
At Common Spirit Health, we know that lifelong health and well-being starts with primary care. So we have doctors and providers who see you, hear you, know you, and understand you. Because understanding you means understanding your needs. And that leads to a deeper knowledge of the prevention, wellness, and treatment options that may be best for you. It's primary care that treats your whole family like family. It's primary care with human kindness. Discover all the ways you can find and connect with a primary care provider at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend?
How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son, and they're demanding $500,000.
On September 12th, 1995, 12-year-old McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas. It was a crime that shocked the community because the suspect was so unlikely, so unexpected.
Former high-ranking police official. He'd run for sheriff at one point.
Law enforcement personnel were pretty much split down the middle over whether or not he actually did this.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, still feels that justice was never truly served.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, Salt Lake City police responded to a couple of shootings over the weekend. Second, President Biden allowing Ukraine to use American missiles to hit targets further inside Russia. Third, the city of Vineyard trying to figure out what to do with all the cars parked around apartment complexes. 39 degrees with some light snow in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know, we've been talking this morning about this investigation and allegations of about a child abduction. We've since learned that the suspect in this case, although initially we're told from police that it was in his 20s, is now a juvenile, according to police, after they further investigated this case. But this 12-year-old girl went missing, according to Bountiful PD, for about 9 hours between early Saturday morning and Sunday morning. And thankfully, police say she's now safe. The juvenile that's accused in this case is now in custody. We're going to get an update from Bountiful PD in just a moment. But Dave, you have brought up some excellent information for parents on how to keep your kids safe when they're using social media, because police have told us that they believe that's how these two had connected.
I clone my kids' phones. Now, if you're wondering what that is, it's exactly what it sounds like. I have duplicated or mirrored my kids' phones so they can have their phone, and then I have a second phone that is logged into all their accounts. And you can do this. We do Apple phones, so iPhones. We just restore that phone and connect it, the phone they're not using. It's pretty simple. It's an iCloud backup, and you can log in, and it hooks into all their social media accounts, their text messages, all of that. So if my kid gets an Instagram direct message, a DM, I can actually go into their Instagram and look at their DMs.
I think this is great. And can you tell, too, if they've downloaded other apps that you might not have approved of?
It downloads simultaneously on the cloned phone.
I think
so you'll see it pop up.
Fabulous tip. The thing is, I think we're so antsy to turn the old phones back in, we might not be keeping them, but it might be worth the money. You know, you're not going to get the money back, but boy, it would be certainly worth it if it keeps your kids safe and gives you peace of mind as a parent.
We've used old phones. We've used iPads because you can connect through the iPad as well. Now, the question we're asking, and we're taking your phone calls, 801-575-TALK. Is this an invasion of privacy? Have I crossed a line as a father? Now, listen, I'm listening. If you have a good reason, if you think I've crossed the line, I'd be interested to hear your perspective. Give us a call, 801-575-TALK. Or am I Father of the Year? Have I hacked it? Have I hacked the safety component for my kids? Let's start off with Jake in Magna. All right, Jake, what do you think?
Thanks for taking my opinion. I think it's very appropriate, and I think it's a very good decision, Dave. Because one of the things that, I mean, it's true, when you have a phone, you have a wide opportunity of making impact as far as purchases and app communication, and it can in many ways compromise your well-being. You know, and if you're a child, you're more potentially to be at risk. And when we had a discussion earlier this year talking about the TikTok app and the risks with that, and a majority of people said we should put the responsibility in parents' hands rather than have it moderated by the federal government. And this is a step for parents to do that exactly.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you agreed with me. I'm kind of putting my heart out there, folks. If you think it's terrible parenting, I would like to actually hear from you. But thanks, Jake.
Jan from South Jordan, what do you think about Dave cloning his kid's phone?
I think he's being a very responsible parent. That's what I think. So he gets the Parent of the Year award. There's just so much out there. And I've got teenage grandkids, and their parents have always monitored their phones or said, okay, this is where they go at night. They can't have them in their rooms. They charge them out in the common area. But they're great kids, and they don't resent their parents. And in the long run, I think they'll be grateful that their parents did monitor their phones. Just too much out there to run the risk of having your kids get into something that you don't want them in or they don't really want to be in.
Yeah, and thanks, Jan, so much for your call. Dave, I think you're spot on. You cannot be too careful with your kids. Strangers have access to our kids like never before through social media, through gaming apps, through technology, and you just have to stay one step ahead.
One of the problems with spot checking a phone, and I know a lot of parents will do this, where you'll just go down and say, hey, let me have your phone. Let me scroll through. I'll look through it. The problem with spot checking is kids can clean it up and hide things, right? They may download the app, communicate on it, and then erase it and then delete it. So you're like, oh, my kid doesn't even have Instagram. When you clone a phone, you'll see that thing pop up. You'll see it. It has been downloaded, and you can track it that way.
So what you're saying, if you're just checking their phone, you might miss an opportunity, the phone they're carrying, to catch something. Not that you're playing gotcha, but you might miss that opportunity because your child has deleted a text message or they deleted the app from their phone. But when you're cloning it and you're leaving that right there in your home and it's connected to the Wi-Fi that you talked about, you can't take it from the home, but you can leave it right there. When you're cloning it, you'll get an indication that they've done this on their own phone. It'll notify you.
Yeah, you can track and see. It's not foolproof, but man, I've yet to find something better than this. Liz in West Jordan, what do you think?
Well, when I was growing up, I didn't have a cell phone. They weren't even thought of then. But when we came to things that we wanted in our family, and we wanted to have more freedom. And we'd say, well, Dad, this is a free country. And Dad would say, well, this is a free country, but this family's a dictatorship, and I'm running the show. And if you want something and I'm paying for it, then I have a little bit of say in how you're going to use it.
I love that. This house is a dictatorship. Sure, you can live in your free country. Thanks, Liz. That's a great line. Annie in Layton, what do you think?
I support you, Dave.
Thank you.
I have done a lot of research into privacy law, and if we're talking legal, children don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy, and they lack legal capacity. That's why children have parents, because parents are there as their...
I would want to clarify that, Annie. I think what you're talking about when it comes to Dave watching his own kids' behavior on social media, there would be an expectation of privacy for kids in certain situations that didn't involve their parents, right? Right? Is that what you're saying? I mean,
I am saying I support any parent protecting their child because children lack legal capacity, and there is no expectation of privacy in for a child, is what I'm saying.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I see where you're going with that. We have some freedoms, like obviously there are certain areas, in the bathroom or showers, right? I know that's not where you're going.
Technology with a parent is what you're saying is monitoring. And I think it's kind of overwhelming, Dave, that most parents are supporting this method that you've shared.
Yeah, this is totally the echo chamber. I'd like to see how kids feel about it. But no, I appreciate it. And one of our texters said the key here is that I let the kids know. Exactly. We tell the kids straight up, hey, listen, we monitor your phone. Quick question, a quick story. One of my kids' friends in a text chat had sworn or he'd used some inappropriate language, and my son's like, "Dude, my parents monitor this," and he's like, "Sorry, Mrs. Noriega." He apologized. So it's been great. The kids have been cool about it, and it gives me some peace of mind.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. We're getting new details in a hit and run that killed a man in West Valley City last night. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has the update.
Arrest documents say Troylyn Rascone was driving home from church when she hit a 70-year-old man in a crosswalk on 3500 South near 1950 West. Documents say, though, she had a green light, the crossing lights were not on, and the man was wearing dark clothing. However, police say Rascone initially kept driving, but her sister picked her up and brought her back to the scene, where she apparently told police she was the lone person in the car and that she knew she hit something.
Rascone has been arrested on suspicion of leaving the scene of an accident and driving on a denied license. A 12-year-old girl now back with her family in Bountiful after police say she was kidnapped by a male that she met on social media. Bountiful Police Lieutenant Andrew Smith tells KSL-TV the girl got in the juvenile male's car in the driveway just after midnight. They took off. Police chased the vehicle until it crashed into the back of a police car. The suspect was arrested at the scene. The girl, who was not harmed, was reunited with her family. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. 4 people have been injured in a shooting in Denver. This happened at a Labor Max staffing office, a place where many ex-convicts go to get temporary work. The shooter was able to get away. Your money at this moment. The Dow Jones average up now 15 points on the day. The NASDAQ is up 125. And our KSL weather. We're seeing some snow across the Wasatch Front this morning. That's next. KSL News Time 11:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way, with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
To all you tool people out there, has Harbor Freight got a deal for you? Big savings every single day this November. Because we know that right now, when the price of everything only seems to go up, you need a place where prices stay low. So shop in-store or online for quality tools you can trust at prices you'll love every day. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Everyone on the road is trying to make it to their destination safely. You can help by staying aware of the large trucks and buses around you. They take longer to stop, have large blind spots, and make wide turns that require caution from other drivers. It takes all of us working together to share the road safely. Learn more at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov. Paid for by FMCSA.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we've got a semi that has spun out on a ramp that goes from eastbound I-80 going away from the airport to then head on to the I-215 West Belt. It is blocking that entire ramp, so they've shut it down. It looks like it is the ramp from eastbound I-80 to go southbound I-215. So you'll have to find an alternate route in that area right now. Now, I haven't heard of any other accidents reported on the roadways, but you've got snow sticking to the roads in Parley's Canyon and Little Cottonwood Canyon, Big Cottonwood Canyon, so we may start seeing restrictions pretty soon. Celebrate the 80th anniversary of America's first Nutcracker at Ballet West, with music performed live by the Ballet West Orchestra. Reserve your seats for this holiday tradition at balletwest.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 42, and we could see some snow showers later from Ogden northward. We're expecting more snow as well tomorrow, especially at higher elevations. And right now, we're at 37 degrees. It's cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
We're going to speak to Inside Sources co-host Rusty Cannon in just a minute to get his take on what I read in the Deseret News. Dave, the headline is the future of Utah elections. And as I go to one of the subtitles, this really caught my attention. How about this? Opt-in for vote by mail. Apparently, Utah's Capitol Hill is tossing around the idea of some changes to how we get ballots in our vote by mail program. So right now they're sent to us automatically. Well, this change, if it happens, could mean we would have to opt in to vote by mail.
I want to know, there's a lot of questions I have.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, we've been doing this forever, right? And it's been arriving. Are we just moving forward? So like 16 years old and on, when you sit down at when you're filling out your driver's license, do you just mark an X like, yes, I want to be able to vote by mail?
Oh, and are we
grandfathered in? Are we grandfathered in, or is this retroactive? Because that's a complete and total game changer. If you're looking at asking 500,000 people or 1 million people or several million people to go back in and say, hey, by the way, I want to continue receiving my ballot by mail.
So this article says, Rusty, let's bring you into the conversation. Multiple state lawmakers, including Representative Trevor Lee out of Layton, want to disrupt the state's default vote by mail status. Lee plans to introduce a bill that would change state code so that only registered voters who requested a mail-in ballot will receive one, as opposed to all registered voters automatically receiving one. So we just go to our mailbox and there's our ballot, right? And that is it like a yellow envelope, and then we take it to our kitchen table and we vote. But if this change were to happen, it sounds like we would have to mark a box or fill in a bubble or something like that to request that we actually get our ballots. What do you make of that, Rusty?
Yeah, there's going to be a theme this session. As you approach most legislative sessions, there's usually a theme that builds up of, hey, there'll be a lot of bills around a particular subject. And I think this will be one of them, where it'll take some time to work out details, see what compromises are made, or, does it get boiled down into just one bill or a bunch. But yes, for example, this one iteration that's being proposed, it would be under this bill. When you get your next mail-in ballot, you would then need to check a box saying, hey, I want this going forward. And then if you didn't check it, then I guess it would default to where you're going to have to go vote in person or something like that. That's one proposal, but there will be a myriad of proposals after what we've been through over the last year. And so we have to kind of wait until these bills are written and printed as we get into the session to see really what the details are. But from my understanding, that's what he's talking about.
For your understanding, what are some of the concerns about the way it's currently being done, where you're sending ballots to everybody?
Well, there is a line of thinking, and it is valid. I see their point of, does it induce fraud where you're just mailing it wholesale to everybody and somebody's able to vote for another person that they're not supposed to by forging their signature or doing something else? Now, I personally think most of that gets caught But, who knows? Maybe there's ways to game the system. And the idea would be to sort of clean the voter rolls by having everybody opt into this process, for the future elections after that. There's another idea from another representative that's interesting where her proposal would be they would just send the mail ballots to those who have voted in the last 2, 3, or 4 elections by mail, meaning if you're kind of active, I guess you'd say. But if someone hadn't voted in the last 4 elections, then maybe something's up and they would not send them a ballot, and that person would need to go in person or, obviously figure things out on their own and take care of it. So those are just a couple ideas we've heard about so far.
Rusty Cannon is one of our co-hosts of Inside Sources, which airs every day right here on KSL News Radio from 1 to 3. And Rusty, what I get worried about is, does this impose a new wave of confusion? Because we've been doing it one way for so long that unless this came, if a change like this did happen, if it came with a robust education program and many, many announcements to voters, not everybody pays attention to the news cycle the way we do, or pays attention to what's going up on Capitol Hill. So I would worried that voters would be faced with a lot of confusion over this.
That is a possibility. They would need to do a robust job of making sure everybody's informed. If not, yes, you'd have a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration, and you don't want anybody to, be obviously disenfranchised from voting, but they would need to take that under consideration. And I think that's part of what would be debated is, hey, how do we get everybody alerted to this and do it slowly so that everybody has time to adjust? I think they'd take that into consideration, because if not, you're right, it would be very, very confusing and everybody would be upset.
Looking at the numbers that we have here in Utah, 1.2, 1.3 million votes cast, somewhere in that ballpark. It seems like it would be a Herculean effort for the local county clerks to have to adjust on every vote counted. Would this be overwhelming for the county clerks, or is this just something that they do all the time anyway?
I think the clerks can handle it. We have really, really good county clerks for the most part in the state that, obviously this is job number one for them. They prepare for this for years. It's really not their only job, but their only major job is to run these elections. And I think they could handle it, but just as it would be confusing for voters, it would be a little bit of a burden on them to sort out the messes that would indeed happen if you did something haphazardly. And so they would need to be very slow about this. Now, when they negotiate these types of things, they will involve the county clerks, right? They're going to be part of the process saying, nope, bad idea. Yep, that's a good idea. We can do that. They are not left in the dark as these bills are crafted. They're actively participating.
I guess in my mind, it would take just about every single person would have to have on their voter roll a check yes or check no. Like, I don't know how you bypass it from going through every single voter and adjusting and saying, yeah, we're going to keep sending this person a ballot, or this person didn't return, we're going to uncheck this. It just seems like you'd have to go through well more than 1 million individuals and determine whether or not they're going to receive a ballot.
Yeah. And that's why you'd want the county clerks involved in negotiations on this, and they would be, and give them time and ability to give feedback whether this would work or not. Keep in mind, it's done county by county.
Right.
So, larger counties, this is a big lift. Smaller counties, not so much. But they will be heavily involved in this type of in these negotiations about this subject. And I can tell you, this will be addressed this session. This is the hot topic for state policy going for the next few months.
Is the hot topics, you're thinking specifically mail and vote by mail? Is that one of the top topics?
That'll be one. The other one will be, and we'll talk about this on the show later today, is the whole convention process, primary process. Will there be any changes implemented on that? That will get even more emotional and be, quite the debate. But that'll be hot topic number 2.
Oh, that will be very interesting. I will look forward to that conversation today. Rusty Cannon, host of Inside Sources, starting today at 1. Yeah,
we look forward to the show, Rusty. You and Taylor Morgan this afternoon, like Dave said, starting at 1. Straight ahead, this headline in the Deseret News caught our attention. Utah's public colleges may face budget cuts in 2025. Budget cuts? Let's ask Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz, when he calls the show Straight Ahead, what he has in mind for budget cuts for Utah's colleges and universities next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The Advanced Window Products end-of-season sale is happening now. Your chance to get beautiful new state-of-the-art windows and save a bundle on your energy bill. Call Advanced Window Products now, and they'll give you $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. We're talking about custom frames and sealed double-pane glass, any style, any color, and they're created just for you right here in Utah. You need a doggy door inlaid into the glass? They do it all the time. In fact, Advanced Window Products has been building the highest quality windows here in Salt Lake City for 38 years. So there's no middleman and you save money. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. So keep the heat inside with new windows. The energy companies will even give you a rebate. Advanced Window Products offers 0% financing, affordable monthly payments, and now $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Call them right now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
The White House, Senate, and House, all controlled by the Republican Party. Are they poised to make historic change to the federal government, dialing back American commitment in foreign wars, or just creating more conflict and controversy? The direction of the country is uncertain. Get clear with Utah's top political analysts. Inside Sources, weekdays 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest-standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
Don't you deserve health care you can count on? Well, you can count on United Healthcare with Medicare plans that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. You can enjoy reliable coverage and low out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans. Made for Utah, trusted everywhere. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Welcome to the Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care, where compassion and care are at the heart of everything they do. The newly remodeled community, now under new management and ownership, is dedicated to creating a safe, home-like environment for every resident, thanks to Beaumont's super caregivers. What is a super caregiver? At the Beaumont, super caregivers are committed to delivering wow experiences. They are flexible, teachable, responsive, and compassionate. They create positive interactions, build staff synergy, and excel in open communication and transparency. The Beaumont super caregivers create fun, smiles, and laughter every day for the ones you care about the most. See for yourself at 1150 South Main in Bountiful, where you're invited to visit and experience the warmth and care the Beaumont provides. Visit thebeaumontassistedliving.com. That's thebeaumontassistedliving.com. The Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care, where compassion and care come first.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Dave and Dujanovic.
What our listeners need to know is what's going on behind the scenes. We hold weekly meetings on how to do our jobs as talk show hosts, as journalists, better than we did them yesterday.
There's some very conservative voices. There's some very liberal voices. But there is space for both. And we're not at each other's throats. We're not yelling at each other. We're having a discussion.
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, West Valley police have made an arrest in a fatal hit and run that happened last night. Second, Bountiful police say the suspect in the kidnapping case is a juvenile male who drove here from Arizona. Third, 4 people have been injured in a shooting at a staffing office in Denver. 37 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
So the headline in the Desert News, Dave, says Utah public colleges may face budget cuts in 2025. In a moment, we're going to speak live with the Speaker of the House of the Utah State Legislature, Mike Schultz, about what he envisions in terms of budget cuts for our colleges and universities across the state.
Well, I think when you're looking at the cost of college in general, whether it's tuition, maintenance, building new facilities, it's incredibly expensive. And we're feeling priced out, I think, whether it's family, whether our kids are feeling this way. And we've seen, though it hasn't necessarily hit Utah as hard as it has other states in the country, we've seen an enrollment drop across the country. And a lot of times, and the number one thing is, kids are not enrolling in college because they're concerned about the cost or they can't make the math work.
Good morning, Speaker Schultz.
Hey, good morning, Dave and Debbie. It's an honor for me to be here with you today.
Well, it's great to have you back on the show. And I've said this many times. It wasn't too long ago. Our youngest graduated from the University of Utah, and it did feel like tuition was a financial crunch for our family. So I'll be really transparent on that. Is this something that you're concerned about as well? And where would you see those cuts happening if you were going to start, making budget cuts to the universities and our colleges across Utah?
Yes, it is. It's something that I'm really concerned about, and it's actually the whole purpose behind these cuts and reallocations. And that's, I think, an important part that everybody's missing is the goal is not to just cut, but cut and reallocate and become more efficient with the dollars that we're using, therefore driving down the costs of tuition increases. Look, if we don't get this right, higher ed will become less and less needed across the country, because you are seeing businesses saying the same things that you guys just said. One, they're not getting the same the students that they need out of higher ed. But two, families are not looking to put their students through that process because it costs so much money and the cost is skyrocketing. And so really, if we don't get ahead of this and try to do all we can to reduce the costs, we're going to be in trouble. And we're going to do it by a couple ways, and through efficiency. That's one of the number one things that we're looking at. And just by way of example, and I'm not going to name the institutions, but over the last 9 years, there's been one institution in the state of Utah that has seen their administrative cost per student go up from $2,998 per student to $7,280 per student. That's a 143% increase in 9 years, well ahead the rate of inflation. Another one went from $4,176 cost per student to $8,841 cost per student over that 9 year period. It's a 112% increase, well above the rate of inflation. And so that's an area where I think we can trim down the costs. But another one, and this is probably more a bigger example, and this came to us from an audit that will be released in a day or two at the legislative audit hearing. But it says in 2022, 4 institutions graduated a total of 14 students in one program. So we have programs out there that really are running really inefficiently, and we have 4 institutions that graduated a total between all of those 4 institutions, 14 students, and that was in Portuguese. Well, we probably don't need all 4 of those institutions offering Portuguese. Let's drop that down to 1, possibly 2, and take that savings and let's invest it into other areas where we do need the workforce, and we do find good outcomes. And I'll just go through a couple of them: nursing, computer science, engineering. Those are all areas that our economy needs that we can't get. You look at nursing alone, we have a huge shortage in the state right now in nurses. And if you look at the 10-year projections, it's scary to see how short we're going to be our nurses. But yet, try to get into a nursing program inside Utah, it's almost impossible. And so the idea is to take and cut some of those areas and reallocate it to other areas.
I've seen a similar thing with physician's assistants as well. The Utah Valley has a great program, but it's just difficult to find enough spots, and it is difficult. And I guess maybe with this reallocation, are we talking about, would you take administrative costs or administrative savings and reallocate them there? Is that the idea?
Yeah, and then also to keep so that we don't have to keep raising the cost of tuition. Exactly. I mean, look, I'll just use another university as a good example. Okay, over that same time period, and this is Southern Utah University that did this. Their costs only increased by 20% over a 9-year period. So we have some universities that are doing a great job. There's others that need some help. And I want to point out, I really believe that we have great institutions all across the state, but they've just become so big in some circumstances and really inefficient that I think this is good. Let's put a set of eyes on this. Let's help lower the cost. And another big thing we can do is by streamlining degrees. Almost everyone that I talk to that's received their bachelor's degree will tell you that they took a lot of classes that they didn't feel like was necessary. I've had a lot of higher ed presidents tell me this. I've had a lot of deans of colleges tell me this. And so let's reduce the amount of credit hours needed to get a 4-year degree. Let's drop it down and see if we can get more 3-year degrees, but still have that same bachelor degree. That'll save kids a whole year.
Well, the out-of-the-box thinking is certainly, I think, important. Like how can we do things more efficiently for what our students and our kids are facing today? Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz, live on the line with us, is talking about budget cuts and how to reshape higher ed in the state of Utah. And can I put my 2 cents in while we're pitching ideas here, House Speaker Schultz? I've always felt like I've always felt curious about why we don't have or offer more community college options across the state. I know we have Salt Lake Community, and we have online now, and Salt Lake Community is huge. But I've often felt that we've kind of lacked in that space. What are your thoughts on that? Am I off base?
No, you're spot on, but I think also our technical schools, our technical institutions, they've been left behind, honestly. It's something that I noticed about a year ago, and we're really going to work hard to bring those forward, because what those community colleges and the technical schools are doing are really the best bang for our buck. And, really we can do it more effectively, more efficiently, and get better outcomes by increasing those options. So I really appreciate that suggestion. It's something that we are talking about.
It's so much less expensive. I think sometimes when kids are transferring out of high school into a community college, they feel, like it's a better an environment for them to transition to. They can not spend a lot of money at the university level getting those, those initial classes done. So, I was just curious as to what your thoughts were on that. So we appreciate you joining us. Please come back and join us again as you continue to make progress on this initiative during the 2025 legislative session.
I'm excited about it, and I'm happy to come back anytime. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Thank you.
House Speaker Mike Schultz, thanks. I'm looking at the University of Utah, Debbie, and the university, I'm looking at their website, has 18 colleges and schools, nearly 100 departments. Is everyone absolutely essential? Maybe it is. I haven't done an audit of this, but it still gives you an idea. If you've got 100 departments and you've seen administrative costs soar throughout the state per pupil, what they're responsible for, I think it's a fair question to ask, and we should audit and make sure that every dollar is spent effectively, because we know that, quite frankly, these costs, the tuition costs for students, has skyrocketed. They've more than doubled in the last decade in many cases. So we should be looking and auditing out and saying, you know what, maybe we don't need 4 schools all offering Portuguese degrees where they've only graduated 14 people in total.
Straight ahead, we're going to flip over to the big international news story of the day. We're now learning Russia warning the U.S. over its authorization for Ukraine to use long-range weapons made by the United States. So we'll ask an expert what happens now. She's on the line next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomis. KSL's top local story this hour. Bountiful police say the kidnapping of a 12-year-old girl over the weekend that led to an Amber Alert should be a reminder to all parents about the dangers that social media poses.
Always be vigilant in your kids' lives. Social media, while it is great, there are hidden dangers to it. And it's not just through social media, it's gaming apps as well.
Lieutenant Andrew Smith says they just learned today the suspect is also a juvenile. He says the suspect and the victim had been chatting over social media for some time. Smith tells David Dujanovic the suspect had originally lived in Arizona before moving to Utah. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President-elect Trump doubling down on his campaign promise to deport millions of undocumented immigrants in his second term, confirming his intent to declare a national emergency and use the military. This was on Truth Social overnight. Trump hasn't said yet how this would be paid for or what role active duty military units might play. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is right now down on the day, 46 points, while the NASDAQ is up 116. And our KSL weather looks like we're going to see some clouds and off and on showers today. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
As you're looking outside and it's a little bit rainy, maybe it's got a little snow this past weekend, it reminds me of the reason I purchased a Kinetico water softener. It's because especially when the weather changes, the seasons change, we hit winter, it just seems like my family's skin just dries out so much. And one of the things that we noticed that helped our family more than anything was getting soft water in our home. Utah has some of the hardest water in the entire country, and we really could feel the difference when you take a shower or a bath. The hard water just dried out our skin so much. Soft water has been fantastic for my family, and we looked at it as an investment. Many people will say, oh, well, you know what, Dave, you just like soft water because Kinetico gave you a free soft water system. No, we paid for it just like you guys did. That's why when I speak about the benefits and the investment, that's truly how I see it, as an investment in the family, into the long-term health of my home. Give them a call, 801-576-8600. That's Kinetico of Utah. They're an authorized Kinetico dealer, 801-576-8600, or online at softwaterutah.com.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up, or when you store. Start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We've had 2 crashes on eastbound I-80, one near Bangerter Highway, one at the transition ramp at I-215's West Belt. So far, neither causing any big backups. Teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account, plus continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today, high of 42, and we'll see some snow showers. More later today from Ogden northward, and then tomorrow more snow, especially at higher elevations. And right now, we're at 39 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, the war in Ukraine. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Well, our coverage certainly began this morning with what some might perceive as an escalation in the war between Russia and Ukraine with Tim and Amanda this morning on Utah's Morning News. And then you and I, Dave, asking Ryan Vogel, who is the director for the Center of National Security Studies at Utah Valley University, to join us in the 9 o'clock hour because we have learned that President Biden now saying he's going to allow Ukraine to launch long-range missiles into Russia.
I think this is probably around a 6 or 7, maybe. Putin has said repeatedly that giving Ukraine access to these types of missiles or authorization to use these missiles in the way that we've just now authorized would be an escalation and would draw appropriate measures from Russia. He says that a lot, right? I mean, he obviously doesn't want Ukraine.
And when I asked Ryan Vogel that, I asked him to put it on a scale of 1 to 10 where he thought we were in terms of this escalation.
And Debbie, when you look at the last, we're approaching 3 years, at least 2.5 years that Russia has invaded Ukraine. Ukraine is battling to hang on to every square mile. We have gone from sending helmets. That's what Germany did. I'll never forget that story. They sent 5,000 helmets to Ukraine as there were 100,000 Russian troops amassing at Ukraine's border. It has felt for me, and I'd like to get some reaction on this, we've sent Ukraine just enough help to keep them from losing, but not enough to let them win the war. Megan Reese joins us right now, a national security policy advisor for Senator Romney, has been a policy advisor for Senator Romney. Megan, give us an idea. What was your reaction when you heard about kind of uncuffing Ukraine and allowing them to shoot American missiles into Russia territory?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Honestly, this has been such a struggle with this administration when it comes to arming Ukraine, because you guys are exactly right. We have at every turn been so afraid of Putin's response that we had this very slow plus up of the types of weapons that we would authorize the Ukrainians to use, starting with MiGs, which are these Soviet-era jets, and saying those were too controversial. We can't let them use that. That turned into a battle at the Senate where we finally convinced the administration to move. And at every point, Putin would come back and say, this is going to be an escalation. People in the administration would be freaking out that there would be nuclear war because we allowed some sort of missile, some sort of jet, some sort of drone to go over. And honestly, it's just responding and deterring ourselves most of the time. This is an escalation. This is not to say this is not, but this is the sort of weapon that we likely, had we always wanted the Ukrainians to win, we would have been arming them with things like this from the get-go.
Megan Reese, former National Security Policy Advisor for Senator Mitt Romney, and also founder and CEO of Solid Intel Inc., on the line with us live. Megan, so what do you think? What do you suspect, or what do you know in terms of Putin's response to this?
Listen, Putin is really trying to push out the Ukrainians from land that they took in a couple months ago. They are doing things like bringing lots of folks, including North Koreans, to the border, which is just a crazy thing to be watching from the outside. And so there's going to be a really strong effort going into this next administration from the Russians to take as much land as they can in Ukraine as humanly possible, because they are hoping that there will be a negotiated settlement where they get to keep every inch of territory that they have tried to take from the Ukrainians. And so there's going to be a strong push from both sides to get some movement, some land swaps in favorable directions going into this next admin.
Do you believe in the concept of de-escalation by escalation?
De-escalation by escalation, peace through strength, essentially. I do. I think there are points where when you have a bully like Putin is, he's trying to threaten everyone that there could be nuclear conflict in the case that there is a buildup of the conventional capabilities of the Ukrainians. And we just haven't seen that sort of movement. And so I would suggest to people going straight to this is going to lead to nuclear war to chill out unless we actually see that sort of escalation happening. And separate from that, he can be deterred. Like this whole idea that Putin could never be deterred, I think is wrong as well.
Megan, what do you make of the timing of this? President Biden authorizing it right now as we get ready to transition to a Trump administration.
I will say that if they believed that the Ukrainians could handle this, the whole time that they were so fearful of giving these weapons to them. So you have a couple issues with ATACMS. One is that it could lead to escalation, et cetera. And then separate, we don't want to give away these critical weapons to U.S. national security. So we're now at the point where the administration is saying that we can give them these capabilities, that we can either handle it from our domestic production base, but also they can handle it as a country, and it will actually improve their national security objectives and what they're trying to do in this war. It makes me very critical of the administration for deciding on the way out that these things are true while having prevented the delivery for so long. So I guess there's the chance that they've decided that we're going to do this regardless of maybe this is a hit on U.S. national security capabilities, that we are giving things that we consider a critical need for ourselves and we don't have extra production. I guess technically that could be true, but I doubt it, which means that we were holding on to capabilities that they needed all along, and out of our own personal fear, we were keeping them from having them. And that is not very impressive in my view.
I'm not entirely sure how this works behind closed doors in Washington, but do you think that after this announcement comes shortly after President Biden and President Trump elect visited last week, is there a coordination? Is there a communication that perhaps allowed this to happen?
Yeah, there absolutely. Like a lot of these things could be happening behind the scenes, and, people really coming to the conclusion that we have the capabilities in place to use them in ways that won't interfere with U.S. national security objectives in the region. But having, Senator Romney was central to the fight with the administration to get MiGs. to the Ukrainians. And so I may just be coming at this from a point of war wounds, battling with the administration to allow the Ukrainians to fight when needed.
Megan Reese, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, a former National Security Policy Advisor for Senator Romney and the founder and CEO of Solid Intel, Inc.
And you want to make sure you join Jeff Kaplan and his afternoon news team this afternoon starting at 3. Of course, he's on the air every single day right here on KSL News Radio, beginning at 3 for your ride home, and he'll have the latest information on what is going on in the Russia-Ukraine war.
And just to clarify, as Megan was talking about the ATACMS, those are actually the name of the missiles, the missile system that would be shot. They're American-made. That would be used to shoot into Russia. The reason the ATACMS missile system missiles are crucial is because they can travel, 2 to 3 times the current missiles that are being used. So they can travel more than 200 miles, and that's what would be able to go from Ukraine into Russian territory.
Straight ahead, we're going to get a live update from the Bountiful Police Department. They're calling the show on what they've called a child abduction case. We knew that the victim in this case was 12 years old. Well, now police in the last hour and a half have updated their media release and said they now believe the suspect is a juvenile as well. More on that next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Are you looking to save on internet and mobile this holiday season? Well, good news. Xfinity's having a Black Friday sale. They have you covered with these great deals. Learn how to get your choice of 5G phone on Xfinity Plus. You can also get fast, reliable Xfinity internet and a line of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited for a great low price. So don't wait. Bring home a new 5G phone and get Wi-Fi speeds up to a gig on Xfinity Mobile. That's a big deal. Or should I say gig deal? Now through December 3rd, ask how to get your choice of a free 5G phone with an unlimited Plus line. Plus, get Xfinity Gigabit Internet with free Wi-Fi equipment for only $25 a month for 12 months. No annual contract when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com/Black Friday sale to learn more. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Gig Wi-Fi requires Xfinity Gateway. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. Gig speeds available via hotspots to Xfinity Mobile customers only. Reduced speeds after use of monthly data included with your data option. Actual internet speeds and data thresholds may vary.
Hi, this is Kathy.
And Jason from Window World.
Jason, there's a window company giving huge discounts, saying it's the biggest sale ever.
And last month they were offering free labor. That just doesn't add up.
We don't play those games. At Window World, everyone gets the same low price every day.
No pressure, no games, and now we offer siding too.
Call Window World today, 801-281-8111 for 4 windows and a patio door for just $56.12.
And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive, like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian, who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us. Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Delicios brings the vibrant flavors of Venezuelan cuisine to Utah, combining authentic Caribbean recipes with local ingredients. Founded by Chef Aymara and Alicio from Venezuela, Delicios has been sharing its healthy healthy, flavorful products since 2019. Co-founder and chef Aymara Suarez joins us with more.
My love for cooking began with my grandmother, Damasa Silva, who started cooking and selling arepas in the 1930s in Venezuela. She taught me everything about the art of cooking. And now you can enjoy handmade arepas right here in Salt Lake City. Our mission is to prepare authentic Venezuelan food that nourishes the soul, using artisanal methods and local ingredients to create what we call food for life. With the support of Spite Kitchen Incubator, we bring you healthy, flavorful Caribbean-inspired products. Our range of frozen goods is available online and at our Salt Lake City location, and we also provide catering service. The arepa is just one example of our products. Find us at various events and explore our menu at WecDeliciousStore.com.
By supporting Delicios, you're not just enjoying a meal, you're embracing the traditions of Venezuelan cuisine. Each dish provides a unique taste of Venezuela's warmth at your table. Find out how to bring the taste of Venezuela into your home on the Delicios website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the suspect arrested in the kidnapping of a 12-year-old girl in Bountiful turns out to be a juvenile as well. Second, a woman has been arrested in a fatal hit-and-run incident in West Valley last night. And third, President-elect Trump has restated his plan for mass deportations of people in the country illegally. 39 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We heard from the Bountiful Police Department when they called the show live earlier in the 9 o'clock hour that the 12-year-old girl who was at the center of a search over the weekend in a child abduction investigation, she's safe. And we originally reported because police had believed that the suspect was in his 20s. Well, they've since, through investigative work, determined that the suspect himself is a juvenile. And so we're going to get the Bountiful Police Department back on the line live with us for, more information on this case.
Because I'm not sure how much this changes things. Maybe it changes things radically. Maybe it doesn't, because as you were describing this, Debbie, this girl gets abducted at around midnight and then doesn't get returned until 9 a.m. the next morning. There's a chase. There's a lot that goes in, a lot of questions that we don't have answers for. What happened during those 9 hours? Lieutenant Andrew Smith joins us right now. Thank you for joining us again from the Bountiful Police Department, Lieutenant. So this suspect is a juvenile. Do we know how old this suspect is?
Yeah, so the suspect is a juvenile. We were able to identify him along with help with our federal partners as a juvenile. We're not going to release his exact age, but he is older than our victim by several years. So as far as that goes, in the aspect of changing the dynamics of the case, definitely adds some complexities to it. In the aspect of the juveniles we've arrested, he's being charged with several felonies, including possession of a weapon by a restricted person, and the 12-year-old victim is classified as a child underneath Utah state law. So as we continue on the course of our investigation, obviously things will unfold. Everything will be handled in juvenile court, but it does add some complexities to the investigation.
Lieutenant, just to make sure we're clear on that weapon, you've alleged or stated in your news releases, I believe, that there was a Glock found in the car?
Yeah, so it was a Glock 17 handgun and was found right at the driver's feet on the driver's floorboard.
Was it at all brandished or used?
We don't know. We're still working with search warrants to get those approved to get into the car to conduct our investigation. We don't believe it was brandished. We don't know, however, if it was used at any point during the abduction or anything else during those 9 hours at this point.
So you'll continue to pursue criminal charges against this juvenile suspect in this case?
Yes, so he has been formally charged through the juvenile courts in Davis County, and we're working through that process.
Is it still accurate to describe this as a kidnapping or an abduction?
Yeah, it's still accurate. I mean, the 12-year-old cannot consent to anything. So whether they were a willing participant or not, underneath Utah law, they could not consent to anything. And the actions that took place still met state statute, and in speaking with the attorneys and following through with that. So it is still classified as an abduction. She was not taken by Will when the suspect jumped into the front seat of the car and just took off. That is not normal behavior in any way. So we are still pursuing that as a kidnapping and have charged him with that.
Lieutenant Andrew Smith with the Bountiful Police Department live on the line giving us an update on a child abduction case that has been ongoing since, really early Sunday morning. The child, 12-year-old girl, was missing for 9 hours. And I know you gave us an update earlier in the show, but any update on how she's doing this morning?
She's still doing good. Our special victims detective has been in contact with her, so she's got an interview schedule. So she's recovering back at home with family, and we're just continuing to work with the family and provide them whatever resources they are in need of.
So because of this juvenile's age, the suspect that abducted this 12-year-old, what kind of updates can we expect, or will this all be held essentially behind closed doors because this individual is a juvenile?
Most of the information will probably be held as far as the identification purposes because they are a juvenile. The state and most departments are pretty clear on not releasing juvenile information. That being said, we will continue to release what information that we can as far as the utilization of social media, et cetera. We did determine today that they first made contact last Monday and that the juvenile suspect we've arrested is originally from Arizona, and that his father, who was one of the initial people listed in the Amber Alert, is the owner of the car, and he is actually currently in federal prison for trafficking firearms. So obviously there's multiple layers of this investigation that we'll continue to release as things come to fruition through the investigative work.
Lieutenant, any update for our listeners at all that in terms of your investigation into what social media app, and is that still accurate? Did they connect over a social media app from what you've learned?
Yeah, so they connected through Instagram. We're still combing through the cell phones on that. The challenging aspect with a lot of the social media platforms these days as far as investigative work goes is most of the apps now feature a vanishing mode, especially Snapchat and Instagram, where messages, once they're sent, if that feature is selected, will be deleted. So we have to get subpoenas to get the historical records from Instagram to be able to find out exactly what messages were shared, if images were shared, et cetera. And if images were shared, obviously that adds additional criminal charges because she is considered a child underneath Utah state law.
As you were describing, this was a little piece of information I wanted to clarify. As we were describing this, around shortly after midnight, when this individual was with the 12-year-old in the family driveway, so to speak, and when he was confronted, he jumps into the front seat of the vehicle and drives off. At that point, are you describing the 12-year-old was then taken against her will?
Yes. So at that point, yeah, we're describing that as she's taken against her will. His actions led us and led the family members to know that he was not doing something appropriate and fleeing, and did not give her the option to get out of the vehicle.
Lieutenant, just one more question before we let you go. Do you suspect at all that there might be some other victims out there at this point from what you've learned in your investigation?
At this point, we don't believe that there are any other victims. We believe that this is an isolated incident as of right now in the Bountiful area. But obviously, as we go through our investigation, if more information comes to light with multiple victims or anything else, we will conduct an investigation and obviously update the press releases.
Lieutenant Andrew Smith, thank you for joining us from the Bountiful Police Department.
So we've learned quite a bit. There's been a lot of developments in this show, and of course, Maria and her team will continue to follow this along with Jeff Kaplan this afternoon. But we now know that the suspect in this abduction that has been at the center of so much news coverage this weekend, the suspect is a juvenile. The victim, as you heard, 12-year-old victim, has been returned safe to her family, and that it appears the suspect and this 12-year-old girl had connected several days prior to what happened this weekend.
Yeah, had connected on Instagram, and I knew obviously of Snapchat's vanishing mode. I didn't realize that Instagram had a vanishing mode as well. And police are looking into that, trying to subpoena and get the information out of that as well.
The suspect now in custody. You heard the lieutenant say that he'd come in from Arizona. And, of course, as always, Maria and our team of producers and reporters continuing to track the latest developments on this developing story.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Utah's Noon News. I'm Maria Shaleos. KSL's top story this half hour. Death row inmate Ralph Menzies will appear in court this week for a competency hearing to determine whether he's mentally fit to be executed. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera joins me live from West Jordan with details. Eric?
Maria, Ralph Menzies appeared in white prison uniform around 9:30 this morning at West Jordan's 3rd District Court. Brought on because earlier this year, his attorneys say he has dementia and doesn't understand what being executed would mean. Attorneys on both sides have been giving their statements so far on the matter, which KSL legal analyst Greg Skorda says is a valid argument because a lot can happen in prison to someone's mental capacity over 35 years.
In Utah and other states, a lot can happen to a defendant while they're incarcerated. They can suffer from mental health issues, lack of competency, things like that, and they just have to be reevaluated before the state can proceed any further.
Skorda said that under Utah law, someone mentally incompetent cannot be executed because they can't understand what that execution would mean. If the judge ultimately decides that Menzies is in fact competent, Skorda says an execution date will likely be set within the next 90 days. Reporting live from West Jordan's 3rd District Court, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Potentially 5 other men remain on death row, and all of them have been there for more than 20 years. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla has more.
Maria, 2 of those men could potentially be taken off of death row completely. Douglas Carter was sentenced to death in 1985, but in a 2022 appeal, a district judge ruled that prosecutors and police threatened a witness into testifying against Carter. And Douglas Lovell was sentenced in 1993, but earlier this year, the Utah Supreme Court overturned his sentence, claiming that he had gotten ineffective counsel at his sentencing hearing. Both men are up for resentencing, but either could still face the death penalty. Troy Kell, Von Lester Taylor, and Michael Archuleta are also facing a death sentence in Utah. The 5 men have spent a total of 168 years on death row. Reporting live, Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
A man is facing charges for stabbing in Ogden over the weekend. It happened Saturday morning in a parking lot near 100 North Quincy Avenue. Police say the victim saw 2 people rummaging around his car, and when he chased them to get his stuff back, he was stabbed by 22-year-old Christian Becerra. His condition is unknown. Police responded to multiple shootings over the weekend. One of them took place Friday near 800 South Park Street. 2 people were involved. One of them shot the other before locking themselves in a home. When police entered that home, they found they were dead. The other event on Saturday was in Sugar House. Police say a man was killed after a fight near 11th East and 21st South. A second man was hospitalized and several people were detained. KSL's top national stories. Denver police are investigating a shooting that injured 4 people.
Kevin Delgado was inside Labor Max staffing early on Monday when somebody opened fire inside the day labor office. He says many ex-convicts like himself go there to get day labor work.
And as soon as I went back in, the gunshot started going off.
He says a man was arguing with a woman behind the counter about a job ticket he didn't get. He got angry and started firing about 10 shots. The shooter ran away. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Police have not said what condition the victims are in. President-elect Trump confirmed his plans to deport millions of undocumented immigrants on Truth Social last night.
How he plans to pay for this, how this would actually look, how the active duty military would be used, that is not clear because when he was a candidate, he didn't get into details of how he would enact this very significant campaign promise of his. But with this confirmation on social media, he is showing that it is something he does intend to move forward on.
That is ABC's Karen Travers. Utah lawmakers are pushing for significant electoral reform after a roller coaster state election season. One of the biggest reforms could see the formation of a state elections office separate from the lieutenant governor's office. This office would independently oversee state elections. Lawmakers tell the Deseret News they hope this will prevent any allegations about a conflict of interest. About 90 million eligible voters did not turn in a ballot during the presidential election, according to data compiled by the University of Florida. So how did we do here in Utah? KSL News Radio's Jose Sanchez has more.
According to the county clerk's office, there was only about a 4% change in voter turnout.
We approached 86% participation of our active registered voters. In 2020, we were at 90%. So we're barely 4% less this year than we were 4 years ago.
County Clerk Lanny Chapman says they tried to educate voters about how the process works so their ballot gets counted.
We want to make sure that our voters understand the processes we have in place to make sure that their votes are safe, secure, and counted accurately.
Josue Sanchez, KSL News Radio.
Utah company Crumble Cookies is under fire for how they source their eggs. The Human League claims that the company uses eggs from hens kept in inhumane conditions. The Humane League has organized multiple protests starting today outside the company's headquarters in Linden. Crumble issued a statement saying while they understand the interest in cage-free products, it's not practical because of supply limitations. People in Salt Lake City gathered yesterday to remember pedestrians and cyclists who have been killed on city streets during a World Day of Remembrance ceremony. KSL TV's Shelby Lofton talked to Benjamin Wood with Sweet Street, Salt Lake City.
According to the organization, the city averages one traffic death a month on its surface streets alone.
There's this sentiment that road deaths and road injuries are inevitable, that they're just the cost of doing business, but they're really not.
Both the city and Sweet Streets are trying to combat this statistic with Vision Zero. The plan promotes different engineering and increased enforcement of city streets.
With a look at First Look traffic, here's Ricky Meese. Good afternoon, Ricky.
Good afternoon, Maria. We do have snowplows out in Big Cottonwood Canyon. Also, due to an earlier accident, we have a temporary ramp closure from eastbound I-80 to go northbound on I-215's West Belt. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:06.
Spend your workday with a talk show that makes you feel better about the news.
Debbie is the voice of reason, and Dave reminds me of my little brother. Well-spoken, and they're a great team together.
Dave and Debbie, live from 9 to noon, or podcast the show on the app for KSL News Radio.
Winter's on the way. Soon the snow will be falling where? On your roof. If you need a new one, now's the time to call IWC Roofing. See, the shingle companies raise prices January 1st, but IWC will lock in this year's prices, even if you want your new roof next spring. And if you book now, they'll also give you an extra $2,000 off. $2,000 off IWC's already low prices. As the #1 residential roofing contractor in Utah, they get volume discounts on shingles and pass the savings on to you. Plus $2,000 off and you lock in this year's prices. IWC is one of the very few Owens Corning Platinum certified roofers in the state. Their precision teams are so skilled they'll re-roof your home in a single day. They'll send you pictures from the roof so you know exactly what you're getting, and then they'll power wash your driveway just to say thanks. Call now, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690, or go to IWCRoofingUtah.com.
Want to avoid getting sick this fall? Getting your immunizations is a classic approach. You can protect yourself against the flu, RSV, pneumonia, and COVID. Does that sound like music to your ears? Then talk to a doctor or healthcare provider. And visit uptodate.utah.gov to learn more.
Thank you for joining us for Utah's Noon News. Recapping our top story, death row inmate Ralph Menzies is in court this week to determine whether he's mentally fit to be executed. KSL News Time 12:08. A man is dead after a police-involved shooting yesterday. The Weber County Sheriff's Office says he got a report of a domestic incident in West Haven. The man reportedly barricaded himself inside of an apartment with a woman. When police knocked on the door, he approached them with a knife. 3 deputies fired rounds at the man. He died on the scene. The deputies have been placed on leave as the investigation continues. City leaders in Vineyard are trying to figure out a community-wide parking problem. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more details.
Residents say over-occupancy is leading to these major parking issues, and according to the Deseret News, people have been parking during restricted hours and in front of fire hydrants and stop signs. City leaders are floating around a few ideas for a fix, including improved public transit, limiting the number of street parking per household, or building parking garages.
One city leader tells the Deseret News some landlords are renting to more people than they should, leading to more packed parking. State Prison is hoping a program called CAVA can help keep inmates from turning to violence. KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi has more.
CAVA stands for Knowledge Above Violence Always. Deputy Warden Brian Taylor says one of the goals is to quell potential violence.
It allows an opportunity for people to sit down and verbalize the problem so that it can just get worked through.
The program began as a domestic violence prevention program and now addresses all forms of violence. Participants are taught to understand violence prevention, intervention, and healing. Stereotypes of masculinity are challenged and replaced with respect, equity, and accountability. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
An iconic American flag often flown in northern Utah is being retired after it was damaged in a storm. KSL News Radio's Britt Johnson has more.
The 78 by 150-foot flag weighs 400 pounds, and it's flown above Coldwater Canyon every Veterans Day since 2019 in honor of North Ogden Mayor Major Brent Taylor, who was killed in Afghanistan. Many locals have made it a tradition to hike to the flag every year, but last week's storm damaged it to the point of needing to be retired.
It took several dozen volunteers to carry the flag out of the canyon. The Honor the Hero Foundation plans on getting a new flag to carry on the tradition. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Is it snowing in some spots, Ricky?
Well, we've had a lot of snow in the higher elevations like Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons, where plows have definitely been out trying to stay on top of the road conditions there. In Parley's Canyon, now that freeway has been treated on I-80, and even though there is some snow and we do have some slower speeds at times, we do have a clear road surface even though it's wet. However, we have had an accident westbound I-80 near Lambs Canyon. It's really not causing any kind of backups. A crash at Highway 89 at about 8600 South Willard in Box Elder County. That's blocking a right lane of traffic. And the ramp from eastbound I-80 to northbound I-215's belt route, the west side, that's closed due to a crash. There could be some delays that build up. Right now, there aren't any. However, if that is your normal route, you want to continue eastbound I-80 to the I-15 junction, then head north. Calling all Grinches, reclaim your holiday spirit at Abravanel Hall with these holiday performances by Utah Symphony. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Scattered snow showers today, predominantly in the AM. Look for a high of 42 degrees. Overnight, 25 snow flurries possible. 39 for your Tuesday, partly cloudy skies, will then rise another 10 degrees by Wednesday afternoon, high of 49. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Mostly cloudy and 40 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. Still to come on Utah's Noon News, Bountiful Police Lieutenant Andrew Smith gives us more details on an attempted kidnapping that happened over the weekend. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station. Over the weekend, there was the grand opening of the Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care in Bountiful. The KSL Greenhouse was broadcasting live for there. What a wonderful, safe place, a warm environment. this is a great place. Whether you're looking for assisted living or memory care, the new owners and the management, they take pride in hiring people who are going to provide the best care. And again, whether that is specialized for those in assisted living or in memory care. These super caregivers are committed to delivering just a great experience through their compassion and positive interactions. Oh boy, this newly remodeled facility is really something you need to see, especially if you live in the Bountiful area. They have so many special spaces. They've made it so family friendly, so the entire family, from the young kids to the teenagers, really want to go in and visit their grandparents. They have an art room and a library and a theater room. Plus, they have this wonderful game room in the basement where they have simulated games, whether it's golf or all sorts of simulated games. You know, it's just a place that the whole family is going to like to visit, whether it's the game room or just to sit by one of their fire pits. It's the Beaumont Assisted Living and Memory Care at 1150 South Main Street in Bountiful, where compassion and care come first. Find out more at thebeaumontassistedliving.com.
Paid for by government. Now is the time to fill your vault with Morgan Silver Bars. Grab your piece of America's silver legacy with this special offer. These spectacular shining silver bars featuring a crisp image of the iconic Morgan Silver Dollar, a legendary coin that has captivated collectors for generations. Americans treasure owning silver bars and coins, putting them away for themselves and their loved ones. Call now to secure 1 ounce silver bars minted in 99.9% pure silver and made in the USA. You'll be glad you did. Hurry, don't miss out on this special deal. Save $10 per silver bar. The more you buy, the more you save. Limit of 25 bars per customer. Call to learn more. Plus, with qualifying orders, you'll receive a free Morgan Silver Dollar. That's a $59.95 value and free shipping. Call 1-800-222-3967 now to secure your 1 ounce Morgan Silver Dollar bars. That's 1-800-222-3967.
KSL News Time 12:15. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
35-year death row inmate Ralph Menzies appears in court this week in West Jordan for a competency hearing to determine whether he's mentally fit to be executed. I'm KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera.
Second, the Granite School District is changing up bathrooms in hopes of stopping vandalism and bullying. One school recently paid $50,000 for repairs. Third, traffic and weather together, Ricky.
We do have snowplows out in Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons, a temporary closure of a ramp due to a crash eastbound I-80 to I-215's West Belt. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cold front today with some snow showers, then a dry stretch. I'm Matt Johnson.
Mostly cloudy, 39 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time now for KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Communities in the Southeast still recovering from the devastating back-to-back hurricanes of Helene and Milton. The White House now asking Congress to approve a $100 billion in supplemental emergency disaster relief for people impacted the past 2 years.
$40 billion would go to FEMA's Disaster Relief Fund. Another $24 billion would go to the Department of Agriculture to help farmers repair rural infrastructure and fund food assistance programs. The administration's requesting $2 billion for the Small Business Administration's Disaster Loans Program, saying it has completely exhausted its funding. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Today, nearly 2 months after Hurricane Helene, the boil water advisory was lifted for Asheville's water system. Growing concerns over several of President-elect Trump's picks for key positions in his administration, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Health and Human Services Secretary, Fox News host Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary, and former Congressman Matt Gaetz to head the Justice Department. ABC's Mary Bruce has more.
The question now for all of these controversial nominees is whether they will be able to get a majority of support in the Senate so that they can actually be confirmed and do these jobs. Or if Donald Trump, if he can't get them confirmed, will he then use his power, try and sway Senate Republicans to go ahead and waive their confirmation and vetting responsibilities so that Donald Trump can put them in place via those recess appointments?
Ford under investigation over safety issues involving several of its vehicles.
Federal regulators announced 2 separate investigations into Ford. One deals with seatbelts that rapidly tighten without a crash or an impact in over 112,000 Ford Expeditions. NHTSA is also investigating alleged complaints of electrical problems in nearly 500,000 Bronco Sports and Mavericks. Ford tells ABC it's working with NHTSA to support its investigation.
ABC's Brian Clark reporting. You're listening To ABC News.
Time for the KSL In-Depth. The Bountiful Police found a 12-year-old girl almost 9 hours after they say she was kidnapped. Bountiful Police Department Lieutenant Andrew Smith told David Dujanovic police think this started when the girl met someone online.
Always be vigilant in your kids' lives. Social media, while it is great, there are hidden dangers to it. And it's not just through social media, it's gaming apps as well. Unfortunately, our kids are susceptible to these things. They think that they're talking to someone who is their age, when in fact they may not be. And because they're susceptible to those things and they are naive, they tend to believe what's being told to them. And unfortunately, across the nation, we're seeing victims of this take place, whether they're assaulted, abducted, sexually abused. You were the gamut with the social media aspect of it, and some of the gaming platforms, which are heavily used by some of our worst predators, our sex offenders out in the world that are utilizing these apps to lure children in. So be involved with your children. Have those communications that talks with them up front about the dangers of social media, and make sure you're monitoring them. Have access to your kids' accounts. Know what their passwords are so you can regularly check in. And I truly believe that having that open dialogue and building those relationships with your kids up front will save you in the long run, and actually will make your relationship a lot stronger with them.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. What's going on, Ricky?
Salt Lake City PD has wrapped up a crash downtown at State Street and 3rd South. We've had a ramp closure due to an accident, and that's eastbound I-80 to go northbound on I-215's westbound. If you're trying to go north into North Salt Lake or Davis County, you'll need to take Redwood Road or I-15. We do have snow plows out, and it's kind of slushy and nasty on parts of the roadways in Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. Keep that in mind if you're headed up to the slopes. And we had a small accident westbound I-80 in Parley's near Lambs Canyon, but it has not caused any delays. Foothill Rug Gallery, direct importers since 1985. Their semi-annual sale is happening now, up to 70% off already low direct import prices. Foothill Rug Gallery, 1460 South Foothill Drive. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast, starting out with some cold weather, then we warm it up. For today, 42. We got a cold front in the morning, bringing some snow showers, then widely scattered, predominantly dry by afternoon. 39 tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, jumps to 49 on Wednesday, mix of sun and clouds. Mostly sunny on Thursday, 55. Hey, we're up to 58 by Friday, sunshine. Mostly cloudy, 55 on Saturday. Sunday, we've got another system working in, chance for showers. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Mostly cloudy, 39 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. The 7-day forecast is brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. The Dow starting off the week in negative territory. A complete update of your money news coming up next.
Here's something you don't want to miss. We want to let you know about Advanced Garage Door. They're a great company that Deb and I discovered.
Kyle, what sets Advanced Garage Door apart from other companies?
At Advanced Door, we're always looking for the industry-leading and highest quality garage door parts. We handle everything from repairs and installations to maintenance and emergency services. Plus, we provide a lifetime warranty on all residential doors and parts.
A lifetime warranty? That's amazing. What does it cover?
Our lifetime warranty covers labor on residential doors, parts, and services, as long as our recommendations are followed. This means our customers can enjoy peace of mind knowing their garage doors are always protected.
That's fantastic. So if someone's garage door is giving them trouble, what should they do?
Just give us a call. Our certified technicians are available 24/7 to provide prompt and reliable service. We're here to ensure your garage door is always in top shape.
For all your garage door needs, visit advanced-door.com.
Or call 801-252-5977 today.
Advanced Garage Door, where we sell peace of mind.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place,
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
built with players no one else wanted,
We knew no one believed in us.
reach the league's highest heights?
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
and unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
KSL News Time 1224. Alta and Park City Mountain Resort are opening this week. Both resorts plan to open on Friday. They are joining the list of already opened resorts like Bryan Head, Brighton, and Solitude. Watching Utah's money, one person has died, at least 38 are ill after an E. coli outbreak linked to organic carrots. Federal health officials say Grimway Farms, one of the world's largest producers of carrots, initiated a recall for multiple sizes and brands of baby and organic carrots. They were sold at Trader Joe's, Sprouts, Whole Foods, Target, Walmart, and Kroger. Netflix's bet on live sports is paying off. The boxing match between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, streamed exclusively on the platform, had 60 million users watching. CNBC says it made more than $18 million in revenue. Samsung shares went up more than 7% after the company announced their buyback plan. The company plans to buy $7 billion worth of its own stock in the next year. And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is down by 117 points, about 0.25%, sitting at 43,328. S&P up by 14, and the Nasdaq up by 70 points. Almost 20% of Americans tell the Pew Research Center they consistently get their news from social media influencers.
For its study, Pew first set up some guidelines. To be considered a news influencer, the person had to regularly post about current events and have at least 100,000 followers on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or X, where 85% of news influencers have a presence. Most of those putting out news content are men. 27% identify as Republican, 21% Democrat, and 77% of them have no affiliation with any mainstream news site. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Being prepared for an emergency is vital to you, your families, and your community's well-being. You can be ready by making plans and putting together disaster supply kits for every member of your family or household. While preparing, remember that everyone has unique needs and abilities. Grandma?
All right, who wants a cookie?
Has different needs from baby.
A cookie.
And Grandpa? Kids these days has different abilities than your teenager.
Whatever.
Buying a ready-made emergency kit just supplies you with the basics of survival. This is good, but kits then need to be personalized with anything else you require to be happy, healthy, and comfortable in a difficult situation.
Oh, I get it.
Remember, emergency preparedness is your responsibility. For more information on how you can prepare for disasters, visit beready.utah.gov. Be ready, Utah!
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
The KSL News Radio app will update you on breaking stories.
A house explosion this afternoon.
And you'll get exclusive audio streams from local events, breaking news, and sports.
Cougars feel like they can overcome anything.
All of your favorite KSL hosts are there too, so you can listen anytime. Plus traffic and weather. Download it today. The app for KSL News Radio.
Hey BYU football fans, this is Mitch Harper. BYU goes back on the road this week to face Arizona State. And to get ready for the game, visit your local Macy's grocery store for all of your game day needs. They have great prices on all of your favorite game day items like burger patties, made fresh dips, and more. And did you know your favorite tailgate foods are also now offered through Macy's Catering, which offers a wide variety of catering platters from smoked meats to wings and even desserts. The catering options are available online or in store. Macy's also has you covered for Thanksgiving. You can pick up one of their holiday meal kits that has a turkey and sides and all the fixins for a perfect holiday meal. Never miss a deal when you sign up for the Macy's Rewards program, so you can get the weekly ads sent straight to your inbox each week.
Hi, this is BYU captain and defensive end Tyler Batty. It's football season again. Make sure to shop your local Macy's grocery stores for all your favorite tailgate foods.
Get game day ready with Macy's. Happy shopping.
Join KSL and Tim and Amanda this Friday from 3 to 5 at the Salt Lake NPS store at 1600 Empire Road. That's npsstore.com. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Ricky?
We still have the cleanup of that crash on the ramp from eastbound I-80 to go northbound I-215's west belt. And it still looks like they're keeping that ramp closed for the time being. And then we have the final cleanup of an accident on I-80 westbound near Lambs Canyon. It's not causing any kind of backups, so we're seeing a good drive. There is a snowy and slushy drive taking place in Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. If you're headed up to the slopes, be aware of that. But right now, Valley Freeway traffic looks good with no problems. Teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account, plus continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Here we go with another small cold front today. Temperatures will top out in the low 40s. Chance for snow, especially in the first half. 25 overnight, snow flurries possible. Tomorrow, 39, partly cloudy. Will jump to 49 by Wednesday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
The sun is trying really hard to come out right now. Mostly cloudy in downtown Salt Lake City, 41 degrees.
You're listening to Utah's New News with Maria Chaleos
on KSL News Radio,
102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time, 12:30. KSL's top story this hour. We're getting new information about what police say was a fatal hit-and-run crash in West Valley City last night. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more.
At around 8:15 last night, police say Troylyn Rascone was driving home from church on 3500 South near 1950 West when they say she hit a 70-year-old man in a crosswalk and kept driving. New arrest documents say, though, the man was crossing despite having a red light. The crosswalk lights were not turned on and he was wearing dark clothing. But documents say Rascone drove to a parking lot a short ways away and called her sister, who drove her back to the scene. Police say Rascone admitted to being the only person in the car at the time of the crash and that she knew she hit something. She's been booked into jail on suspicion of leaving the scene of an accident and driving on a denied license. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
A Logan man was arrested over the weekend after police say he stabbed his ex-girlfriend's cousin and then later shot at him. Police say the suspect's ex-girlfriend shares a child with him, and the incident occurred when she went to pick up the kid from his home, bringing along her cousin. The suspect, Rocky Rivera, is currently being held in the Cache County Jail on multiple charges. Bountiful police say a kidnapping of a 12-year-old girl over the weekend that led to an Amber Alert should be a reminder to all parents about the dangers social media can pose.
Always be vigilant in your kids' lives. Social media, while it is great, there are hidden dangers to it. And it's not just through social media, it's gaming apps as well.
Lieutenant Andrew Smith says they just learned today the suspect is also a juvenile. He also says the suspect and the victim have been chatting over social media for some time. Smith tells David Dujanovic the suspect was originally living in Arizona before moving to Utah. Federal investigators say it could take up to 2 years to finish up the investigation into the South Jordan home explosion just over a week ago. KSL News Radio's Britt Johnson has more.
The investigation has been turned over to the National Transportation Safety Board, and in a statement they released, it says they anticipate their findings could take anywhere from 12 to 24 months. The team visited the home on November 9th to document the scene and conduct an examination of the pipeline and equipment.
A 15-year-old boy was killed in the explosion. The NTSB is asking for the public to turn in any surveillance footage of the area around that time of the explosion. A Taylorsville business will be shut down for the foreseeable future after a fire this weekend. Firefighters responded to Value Vault, located at 26th West and 47th South, around 3 a.m. on Saturday. Now, the fire caused an estimated $1.3 million in damage. The cause is being investigated. A $50,000 price tag for vandalism repair in a school bathroom has led the Granite School District to redesign bathrooms in their rebuilt high schools. KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi has more.
The district hopes the pilot program will take care of the vandalism and cyberbullying.
Kids, unfortunately, still, even though they're not allowed to have their cell phones out, kids are being filmed using the restroom. Kids are having their shoes filmed, and then that's being put up on social media.
Spokesperson Andrea Stringham says toilets will be enclosed in small rooms to stop videos. Some students resorted to going home to use the bathroom. The new design makes the hand-washing station very visible from the hallway with 2 big openings. It's hoped that stops social media video challenges of breaking mirrors, stealing soap dispensers, and clogging toilets with toilet paper. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
KSL's top national stories. Israel continues to hit Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon and Beirut, killing around a dozen people yesterday.
The Israeli army assassinating another top Hezbollah leader in Beirut, Mohammed Afif, the press spokesman for over a decade for the militant group, killed Sunday in an IDF airstrike in central Beirut. Afif recently claimed Hezbollah's drone strike on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's home in Caesarea, vowing the Iranian-backed group would try to assassinate the Israeli leader again. Lebanese officials say at least 3 others died in the IDF strike targeting Afif. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
President Biden is urging other countries to support Ukraine after authorizing the country to use U.S. missiles to hit inside Russia.
President Biden at the G20 summit in Brazil urging world leaders to do more, saying there's a global responsibility to end conflicts around the world, in Ukraine.
The United States strongly supports Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Everyone around this table, in my view, should as well.
And in the Middle East.
We're going to keep pushing to accelerate a ceasefire deal that ensures Israel's security but brings hostages home and ends the suffering of the Palestinian people and children.
Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
New York City police have a man in custody that they believe stabbed 3 people today. Mayor Eric Adams says authorities are confident that they have the right person.
This investigation is going to continue to unfold, and we want New Yorkers to know that we are not looking for any additional suspects at this time.
2 men died from the stabbing while a woman is in critical condition. First look traffic. What's happening, Ricky?
We still have a ramp closure as the cleanup of this accident continues from eastbound I-80 to I-215's West Belt. Ricky Meeson, the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 12:36.
Reliability, steadiness, trusted voices.
I'll listen to KSL in the morning. I use it to find my weather, to find my traffic. When you ask me what news is, I think of KSL first.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Kathy.
And Jason from Window World.
Jason, other window companies are offering their big specials again. What's our special?
Our special is the same low price every day for every customer all year round.
Wow, Window World is different.
We don't jack up the price to offer a phony discount like other companies.
No pressure, no games. Hey, call Window World 801-281-8111.
Or check windowworldutah.com.
Window World, simply the best for
And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
Thank you for joining us for Utah's Noon News, recapping our top story. More details are coming in on what police say was a fatal hit and run in West Valley City last night. A woman has been arrested, and police say she was driving on a denied license. KSL News Time, 12:37. KSL Sports. Utah Jazz now have 10 losses early on in the season after losing to the Los Angeles Clippers last night by 11 points. Utah Hockey Club will be at the Delta Center tonight hosting the Washington Capitals. The puck drops in the Delta Center at 7 p.m. It feels like rock bottom for Utah football right now after their blowout 49-24 loss to Colorado. The Utes have now lost 6 straight games, and that's the first time that has happened since head coach Kyle Whittingham took over the program in 2005. Utah will now have to beat Iowa State at home and UCF on the road just to become bowl eligible. The BYU football team dropped 7 spots in the AP Top 25 after their 4-point loss to Kansas. In the postgame here on KSL News Radio, wide receiver Chase Roberts says they are ready to get back to work and get the offense back on track.
Be positive, move on, watch the film, learn, grow, and then come back Monday with fire. And we still got all of our goals in mind, so we're not done yet. So let's keep going. Let's win these next 2 games, and then let's go to the Big 12 championship.
BYU heads to Arizona State on Saturday in a top 25 matchup. You can join in the discussion tonight on Cougar Nation with Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. That starts at 6. A media rights lawsuit has just landed more Big 12 football and basketball games on TV. Currently, the Big 12 streams a dozen or so football games on ESPN+, but those games and some basketball games will be moved to TNT and TBS next year. This is the result of a settlement between Warner Brothers Discovery and Disney over broadcast rights. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark says that the move gives the league more visibility, a new broadcast partner, and will be a benefit in the next round of TV contract negotiations. The media rights lawsuit is also moving a popular basketball show to ESPN and ABC next year. The networks have announced they will be airing Inside the NBA, and the familiar cast of Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and Ernie Johnson will appear for high-profile events. That includes the NBA Finals, Christmas Day games, and opening week. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Ricky Meese, I'm seeing a bit of sunshine out there.
Yeah, it's kind of gloomy out there today. Well, the lower elevations, you still may see some wet driving surfaces. The higher up you go, some snow flurries. And the plows have definitely been trying to stay on top of the road snow accumulation in Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon. I-80 in Parleys, it's a mostly wet surface. You have pretty good driving conditions going through Parleys on I-80. Despite having a small accident on the westbound side near Lambs Canyon, it has not caused any problems. We still have a ramp closure due to an earlier accident. They're still working to clear, and it's the ramp from eastbound I-80 to I-215's West Belt. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
I've got a chilly November day on tap, high of only 42. Snow showers, especially in the morning. 25 overnight, snow flurries possible with some clouds. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, temps around 39. Then it's 49 on Wednesday, partly cloudy. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Just a bit of sunshine at 41 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. Coming up on Utah's Noon News, Utah lawmakers are looking to create a new elections office outside of the Lieutenant Governor's office. Inside Sources host Taylor Morgan will join me live to break that down. That's coming up, streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Hi, Doug right here with one more little experiment you can do at home. In a pan of water, all you have to do is stir in limestone, calcium, magnesium particles, and then heat that whole mess up on the stove. And you know what, on second thought, not such a good idea, because limestone, calcium, and magnesium particles heated in water will clump and stick to your pan like concrete, which incidentally is exactly what's going on inside your water heater. Think about it, limestone, calcium, magnesium, that's what makes hard water hard. And trust me on this, if you live in northern Utah, your home has hard water. So call Connecticut of Utah. I'll give you the number in a moment. They'll test your water's hardness for free, and they'll show you the patented design features that make Connecticut water softeners work better than any other. Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. To learn more, call Connecticut. It's 801-576-8600 or log on to softwaterutah.com and call now while it's on your mind.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive, like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian.
who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us. Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Dave and Debbie.
It's impossible to digest and consume all of the news that's now coming at us through either social media or through web pages or through the radio. Pick what is most impactful in your life and focus on that. And that's what Dave and I do every single morning. We pick those issues that are most important to our listeners and we boil it down so it's digestible. It's simple to understand.
I think we're trying to find the essence of the story. You know, you can't be an expert on all things, but that doesn't mean you can't be curious and really find out more and educate yourself and learn the complexities of an issue. But I think all of us start at ground zero on everything. Ask questions, show that curiosity.
And then if you need more research, you can always go to KSLNewsRadio.com and learn more.
Listen for Dave and Dejanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio. Jeff Kaplan.
When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
KSL News Time, 1245. The three things you need to know this hour first.
We're getting more details on what police say was a fatal hit-and-run crash in West Valley City last night. A woman has now been arrested, and police say she was driving on a denied license. I'm KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Second, there are potentially 6 men on Utah's death row. 2 of them are up for resentencing and could avoid the death penalty. Third, traffic and weather together, Ricky.
Hearing about a couple of new accidents on the scanners. One may involve injuries 9800 South near 3600 West. And then also southbound Mountain View Corridor at 4100 South. Ricky Meeson, the KSL Traffic Center.
Another moisture-starved cold front today, then drying out. I'm Matt Johnson.
Mostly cloudy, 41 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Time now for KSL's top national story.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Growing calls for the House Ethics Committee to share its findings of the sexual misconduct investigation of ex-Congressman Matt Gaetz with the Senate before confirmation hearings. Gaetz stepped down hours after President-elect Trump chose him to be Attorney General. Here's ABC's Jay O'Brien.
We've heard from Republican senators who say they want their hands on that report, but the Speaker of the House has said to the committee he does not want them to release the report because he does not believe that they have jurisdiction over someone who is no longer a member of the House of Representatives.
President Biden at the G20 summit calling on world leaders to continue the charge to end global conflicts, including the war in Ukraine and in Gaza and Lebanon. Spirit Airlines filing for bankruptcy protection today. The bargain carrier trying to reorganize due to mounting debt and a failed merger along with a failed buyout. In the Northeast, fire crews continuing to battle brush fires. Rain is in the forecast later this week. This is ABC News.
Time for the KSL In-Depth. Utah is one of 2 states in the country that has the lieutenant governor work as the chief election official. Inside Sources host Taylor Morgan joins me live to talk about an effort to create a new state elections office. So, Taylor, what's this all about?
Well, this is about House Bill 490. This is a bill that has been introduced in a sense. We are still not in the session, of course. We are in the interim of the Utah legislative cycle. But this bill has gone through the drafting process. It is being sponsored by Representative Ryan Wilcox. This bill would create a new independent election office that would administer and oversee elections statewide here in Utah. Now, as you mentioned, Maria, Utah is one of only 2 states in the country where the lieutenant governor also serves as the chief elections officer. In the other 48 states, 33 election administrators at the state level are elected by the voters. In the other 15, that person is appointed by various elected officials in the state of Utah. Based on Representative Ryan Wilcox's proposal, the governor, the attorney general, the state auditor, the state treasurer, the Senate president, and the House speaker would appoint a new director of state elections.
Okay, that's interesting. Is that all because of what happened in this past election cycle and the concern that there might be a conflict of interest?
Yeah, well, this isn't new. For the last 50 years, since 1976, Utah's chief election officer has also been elected as Utah's lieutenant governor. There has always been a conversation about the optics of the chief state election official being elected to that position by the voters. I think the optics, Maria, really over this last gubernatorial election came to a head with a lot of claims by various challengers to Governor Cox and Lieutenant Governor Henderson about impropriety of this conflict. There has not been any evidence whatsoever to suggest that Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson has overstepped bounds in any way. But this conversation may provide further confidence. It would help the voters understand that the process truly is secure. That's the conversation, Maria. It is ongoing, and it'll be very interesting to follow this in the upcoming legislative session.
Are there some other changes they're also proposing?
Well, there are some conversations around the by-mail voting process in Utah, whether that should be automatic as it is, or whether we should move to an opt-in system for vote by mail. So voters would have to choose to receive a by-mail ballot instead of getting it automatically like they do today.
All right. We'll be watching. Thanks, Taylor. And Inside Sources coming up with Taylor Morgan in just a few minutes from 1 to 3. Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Ricky Meese, what's happening on the roads?
We still have kind of a quiet drive on the Valley freeways. No delays, but we still have the cleanup of an accident that has the ramp closed from eastbound I-80 to go to I-215's West Belt. Had an earlier accident in Parley's Canyon, westbound I-80 near Lambs Canyon. It has not caused one delay. Snowy conditions in Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. An accident with possible injuries, 9800 South, 3600 West. And a crash called out over the scanners southbound Mountain View at 4100 South. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off 10 windows or more. AdvancedWindows.com. Affordable windows guaranteed. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL 7-day forecast starting out today with a small system. Really not a ton with it. Going for snow showers, especially in the morning, then drying. High of only 42. 39 tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. Wednesday, mix of sun and clouds, high of 49. We're back to the 50s on Thursday, high of 55, mostly sunny. Sunshine and 58 on Friday, drops down to 55, mostly cloudy on Saturday. Looks like a warmer system expected on Sunday. Showers, 49 the high. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Matt Johnson.
Mostly cloudy, 41 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City. The 7-day forecast is brought to you by Performance Automotive Bountiful. A quick check of the markets. Well, the Nasdaq's pretty happy, up by more than 100 points. The Dow, not so much. It's down a bit. We'll get a complete update of your money news coming up next. If you're like me and there's no way you want to put on an average of, 8 pounds that people gain over the holidays, and you're probably going to want to hear about Salt Lake City Fat Loss, because whether you want to begin a weight loss program right now or whether you're thinking the first of the year is a good idea, you're going to want to check out all the programs, and this one is such a great fit for me because you lose the weight fast with an all-natural program. I lost more than 40 pounds with this program. Many people lose up to a pound per day. And besides looking better, feeling more confident, I no longer suffer from back spasms after working out in the yard. With Salt Lake City Fat Loss, there are no injections, surgery, or medications, and it's not as expensive as other programs because there are no prepackaged meals or other products that you're required to buy. And since you lose the weight quickly, it's easy to stick with. You remain motivated, and it's just a simple combination of foods that melt the stored fat quickly. Go to slcfatloss.com to learn more and schedule your free consultation. It's easy because you can even meet with them virtually. Call 801-450-1882 or go to slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899